We're not interested in how to find housing for those people. Those fail. They failed everywhere. The homeless problem has grown exponentially everywhere. We're not looking for recovery solutions. We want them away from our business district, period. It's that simple. Question is, how are we going to do that? Question is, how are you going to do that? Because that's your job. I am limited. I cannot do it. I'm limited by law. I can't go out there and keep them away from my business. So if my time's
Sorry.
up, that's fine. I will yield my time, but I will not yield my business to this crisis. Thank you.
If I can actually say something, sir, may I?
Yeah, sure.
I just want to say we're grateful that you're in town, and I know there's others that are going to speak as well on this matter, but this is, I know in my conversations that this is important to all of us up here. We appreciate you coming here, and we appreciate your business in our town.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Alan Cartwright, followed by Dan Harvey.
Is this on?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Alan Cartwright. I'm a long-term resident of Oroville. I consider myself an Orvillian. My family goes back to 1858. We've seen lots of things in Oroville. We've never seen anything like this before. I praise the police department and the officers that are out there trying. I know their hands are tied. I know they're directed to do certain things by certain people. I don't blame them. But we live in a community, a village, a city. And as we live in this place, we have to decide what the standards are. And one of the 10 Commandments is, thou shalt not steal. And that's been throughout the world. It's not just here, it's not America, it's not Oroville, it's throughout the world. You shall not steal. It doesn't say you shall not steal $950. It says you shall not steal, period. So at some point, as a community, we got to decide what we're going to do about it. So let's take one solution. How about if we put up a sign that says if you steal, you're going to do community service and you're going to be held to it? There's an idea, gives them a job, makes them accountable, makes them part of the community. We're not doing that. These people all have problems. We all do. The other thing I have a major problem with in this community especially, and I'm sure it's in other towns too, but I live here, I want to take care of our people. My families have multiple businesses in this town and they've all had issues. Cops don't show up, they don't come. I understand they probably have other things that are way more important to do than deal with taking care of somebody crapping in your front of your window or leaving needles or busting out your windows. I'm sure there's more important things to do. We have a lot of crime. But these businesses are part of the community. They're the tax base. They provide money to people in multiple directions. Yet if you live in Kelly Ridge and own a business in Oroville that you spend 12, 14, 15 hours, 16 hours of your life at every day, you don't get to vote. That's taxation without representation. And that's a fundamental priority of this United States of America and the city of Oroville. If you're taxed, you need to be represented. Otherwise, it's just called theft, which I think it's on edge anyhow. At what point, if this doesn't get solved, does the vigilante system kick in? Does the militia kick in? Does the posse system kick in? Years ago in Oroville, when you robbed a bank, there were 20, 30 guys show up and we'd go hunt him down and find him. You can't do that today for some reason. I'm not sure why. I'm sure there's some legal issues. But at what point is vigilantism going to take over? It works. We know it works. It's worked all around the world.
Sir, you've reached your 3-minute mark.
Very good. I think I've made my point. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope you solved the problem.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Up next, we have Dan Harvey, followed by Emily Jackson.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan Harvey. I've owned the Shakey's Pizza for 15 years. I've been involved with Shakey's Pizza since 1981, and all that time, I've never seen so much nonsense and blatant crime happening in this city that nothing is being done about it. At the meeting the other day, the police, the city council people that were there, And the mayor said, our hands are tied, there's nothing we can do. Well, we're hardworking people that own businesses, and it's hurting our business, and we need something done. Every morning starts with picking up trash, because they come through and leave trash everywhere. And if you're lucky, you don't have to pick up human feces every morning, too. I've got lots of videos. We could do a PowerPoint just on my feces pictures, okay? It's horrible. They burned my building. They lit my dumpster on fire. They built campfires against the back wall. They lit the dumpster on fire one night, caused $5,000 damage. The insurance paid for it, but my insurance tripled the next year, okay? A vagrant came in to, actually a do-gooder, a nice person, I guess, bought him lunch. If you do that, take it to go, please. Because he went into my restrooms, came out with his pants to his ankles, covered in feces, and was dripping feces all over my diarrhea, all over my restaurant. I had to shut down for a couple hours. I called the police, and I was told, what do you expect us to do about that? That's just BS. My son had to physically throw him out, and then the police did show up, and he pointed him out, and they drove off without speaking to him. Another time I had a night janitor assaulted. A homeless person threw him to the ground, causing bodily injury, and the guy had to quit. He was afraid to work in Oroville anymore. Another time, let me get to the second page here. One time I got robbed. They turned our power off, the main power, like they just did recently to Papacitos. Turned the main power off, set their weight, thinking the battery would die on the alarm. The alarm went off. I went down there and saw the back door was wide open. I called 911. No answer. Okay, so I shined my brights on the door, try 911 again, no answer. So then I decided I've got a big flashlight, I'll go clear the building myself. So I cleared the building, got the power back on, and then I got a kind of a snarky call from 911 saying, why are you calling 911? And I told them my building has been robbed. They told me, sit tight, they'll come clear the building. I told them I've already done that. So, and they lectured me on how dangerous that is. So, okay. So at the last meeting, I believe it was Brian from A1 Appliance.
Sir, I'm so sorry. You've reached your 3-minute mark.
All righty. I had some more good stuff.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Up next, we have Emily Jackson, followed by Bill Spear.
Yeah,
Thank you.
please. If you do have a letter, please let the clerk have it, because it'll go in the minutes. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Emily Jackson, and I own the Oroville Flower Shop. I'm a third-generation owner, and our business has been in business in the Oroville community for 72 years, and we are very, very proud of that. Many of you guys are our customers. We appreciate it. Family member, you know, we really take great pride in what we do for our community and the fact that we have had a business in Oroville as long as we had. Unfortunately, the community around us is changing dramatically just within the last 6 months. Not only is it taking a financial toll on our businesses in the area, Jamie talked about the same area right on Lincoln, right by the police and fire station, but we're continuously worried about our safety and our employees' safety. I have a 2-year-old daughter that comes to work with me sometimes, and I've got to look over my shoulder to make sure I can get her into my building safely, being able to lock it and unalarm it, okay? So this is much more than just vandalisms and break-ins. I'm here to address the vandalism and break-in issue, obviously. My business, I have to keep my van down at my business. It's our delivery van. In less than a year and a half, my gas has probably been siphoned about 7 or 8 times. I have it on video every time. Sometimes I call the police every time it happens. Sometimes they want to see footage, sometimes they don't care. Sometimes they want me to get more cameras. Sometimes they just give me a case number, which now I know, or an incident number, which now I know needs to be a case number. My van has been attempted to be broken into several times. Have that on video too. Very clear sometimes because it'll be a transient in a wheelchair with one leg. There's not a lot, you know, narrows it down. My electrical has been messed with in the back of my building and damaged. every morning, just like a lot of these other business owners, we're cleaning up trash, food around our building, and we're lucky if we don't have to clean up human feces. And, you know, at what point does that become a public health issue as well? Because that's not safe. I had just the other day a customer come in and says, wow, it smells a lot better in here than it does out there. And I can't track down where somebody defecate, you know, went to the bathroom outside of my business. But that's what I have to deal with. That's what my customers have to deal with. Every time I call OPD, the usual response is, our hands are tied. Get more cameras. I have a full security system down there. I have cameras inside and outside. At what point are these people going to be held accountable, and instead of just us having to buy more things in order for our businesses to be safe? You know, at what point are we going to actually try to track down who's doing these types of things? That's my biggest issue, because our hands are tied isn't okay with me. You know, I bought this business. I have 2 other jobs. I bought this business so one day my daughter could be a 4th generation owner, and we could still serve our wonderful community. If I don't feel that this business is going to be safe in the long run, I will shut it down so she doesn't have that opportunity. I'm not going to put her in a position to where she could physically be hurt. I have a lot of pride in what we do. I would love to work with law enforcement. I'm here to work with you guys. I'm here to rally business owners up so we can work together,
Ma'am.
not against each other.
So sorry, your 3 minutes
Okay.
are up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have letters from several other business owners.
Thank you.
I'll take them.
Yeah, some are at market.
Up next, we have Bill
Yep,
Spear.
thank you, Emily. Any other blue slips?
Up next, we have Bill Spear. He's our last speaker.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, verse and a prayer for this evening is Galatians 6:7. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. What we sow is what we're going to reap. Wonderful verse for tonight, because we can change what is going on. We put the work in. If we want different than what we got to do different than we're doing. And so there is solutions and there is problems. There is solutions to the problems that we have. And so I'm excited for the opportunity for us all to work together with the business owners and all the other organizations that are working. And if we work all together, we can do different, and we can target the problem and do a lot better work. So Father God, I thank you for your word, which is a really good verse for those that are sowing into your kingdom, into the heavenly things. And we ask for that heavenly wisdom. We pray for all these business owners, and that you would help us all to work together, to see the opportunities to strengthen and encourage each other, to be the difference, to get a system that works so good that other cities will come here to see what we're doing and how we're overcoming it. And as we deal with the unhoused, that you would give us wisdom to how to deal with those situations and those circumstances. And we thank you for the police, and we pray that you would give them wisdom and protection. For the new community navigators and the municipal law enforcement, as these new programs would expand and the reach would make a difference, that our city would grow, it would prosper, that the businesses here would grow and prosper. We lift up all the community services, the YMCA. We thank you for their work, and we pray that they would not grow weary. The rescue mission, we pray that you would use them out there mightily to make a place for the unhoused to go, to start the process of being reintegrated back into society. For the Hope Center, all these different organizations, we pray your blessings, and that for behavioral health and the housing navigator and all the new low-income housing that we have. We pray that you would make a way, give us wisdom of how to get the people from where they are to pointed in the next direction for your kingdom and for your glory. We thank you, we praise you. Thank you, you are always there. Thank you for your word, and your guidance, your wisdom, your provision. In Jesus' name, amen.
That's all I had submitted for blue cards, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you all. Appreciate your words and your communications. I'll just take a moment here. We'll probably, later on, the councilmen get a chance to recommend agenda items. I certainly will be recommending an agenda item for the future for this topic that you bring us, and hopefully we'll see some suggestions from staff on policy issues and the way we can go about this. I would also reach out to your, as it's our problem, but it also is a state problem. Our legislators would like to hear from you, specifically Brian Dowley. I met with him last Friday and talked to him about this issue. And he wants to hear from you, the business owners. What are your damages? What are your problems? And I'll share with Emily a sample letter so that you can share with him and tell the story. If not, send the governor a bill for your damages. So it'll come back. Next item here is council announcements and reports. Any councilman? Go ahead. I know our system, our queue doesn't work, so just raise your hand and I'll.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to also tell our business owners that came in here that we are hearing you, and we empathize with you, and we will absolutely address this. And I think we all stand in that same agreement that we will work on this issue. So thank you for coming in, you guys. And then I also wanted to talk about National Night Out that we had, that the police hosted out at the Martin Luther King Park. It was a fantastic success. They're estimating that we had about 700 people come out there. The Oroville Community Development Coalition was honored to come in logistical support of that to help out with many aspects of it. So it was just a smash hit. But I just wanted to also give specific credit to John Zillich, who happens to be here tonight. And thank you, John, for being here. And I didn't know you were going to be here, but I was going to say this anyway because you really knocked it out of the park as far as logistical support, helping and showing up with all the cooking equipment. You and your lovely wife, Jessie, and how you showed up and really helped us out with the cooking equipment, sound. You emceed the event. You really stepped up, and so thank you because your efforts that night made it that much better. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you very much, and I look forward to working with you on future items as well. I know you're here tonight, but I was going to say that anyways. But I also wanted to thank Pastor Spear too for helping out with the setup with the men, and they helped cook too, so that was excellent. The Axiom did fantastic. They showed up with some Axiom kids, knocked it out the park with the serving, along with my kids. My kids helped out with that too, and it was just a great event. And so we're going to be setting up another one to be announced mid-September, a smaller scale, and we're probably going to do it down here, somewhere downtown. We're talking about the lot home, so, and then from there, move around the city. So, and then also I wanted to touch on the Community Navigator program. So they had, in the first week they were up and running, they had 20 points of contact, and two of those points of contact actually received services. So that's not bad odds, considering that it's such a brand new program. So, they just expanded today and working with Buchanan Behavioral Health. So they were, I believe the Chico office asked them to go out and walk with them too. So this is a really good thing that's going to be very beneficial for our community, and it's going to grow and do some amazing stuff. So I wanted to acknowledge those two things. Thank you.
Go ahead. Councilman Goodson?
Thank you. It was this Saturday we went to the Pep Mung event. Yes. And Councilman Weber was there and Mayor Pittman. We were able to share encouraging remarks. We have seen the our Hmong Cultural Center grow by leaps and bounds. A few years ago, it was just a vision to purchase property. off of Oral Dam. They have done that. It's been a success. There's acreage that the garden was phenomenal. They could literally feed a village with the product that is coming out of that. And so we now know that the best is yet to come in the future. It is their hope that they will be able to put up senior housing as well. So we applaud and we appreciate all the things that they are doing to contribute to the success of Oroville and Butte County at large.
Yeah. May I add that?
Of course.
That they gave us were delicious.
Yes.
Yeah, Ray made them that night. We had them at the state. Excellent. Yeah.
Anyone else? Go ahead. Councilman Riggs.
Thank you. Chief Legrone just came in, and I wanted to recognize him because you may not know this, but the 13th was his 21st anniversary at the city of Oroville.
Oh, wow.
So I know that the work you do is hard, and that you often only hear from people when they're in hard situations, and I just appreciate the dedication you have to supporting the community. In 21 years at the city of Oroville.
Go ahead, Councilman Goodson.
I just want to thank you so much for bringing up Bill. I call him Bill. I'm sorry, Chief. And so I was looking at the news feed on Facebook, and I came across a
PSA?
Yes, it was. And there was our chief, and he was, you're going to expound on that, right?
Well, I'm just going to tell you where
Please go ahead. I
where-
was really encouraged with the message, very inspirational for our kids.
Yeah,
So,
where that came from is that's an effort. It's a directional effort. It's from the Oroville City Elementary School District. We're putting it out to our students because unfortunately, due to gun violence, we have lost 2 of our students over the last few months. I mean, so it's becoming, please take this for just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
This might be normal other places, but that's not what our home is, and that's not what we want
Amen.
for our home. So we want to, we want for our children and children everywhere to be aware of the danger of what a firearm is. I mean, it's a useful tool. It's something that individuals that are qualified to handle, can handle and, use appropriately. But when a child has it in their hands, they don't understand the power of it. They don't understand that I don't get a reset. I don't get a do-over.
Right.
I mean, it's, once you've pulled that trigger, there's no undoing it. I mean, so we thought it was important to do that. We made the message, we delivered it. We hope to be doing more. I believe that we would like to do one that includes our mayor. We would like to do one that includes our district attorney and our sheriff, and just kind of keep that message out there. Keep reminding our children that, firearms, it's a constitutionally protected right, but it also has responsibility that comes along with it to safely use the tool that is out there and available, and that you handle it appropriately. And if you don't know how to handle it, don't handle it. I mean, let it be. But it was very nice. And too, I've been teasing Ron because he's incredibly jealous over this situation, that I will be being nominated probably shortly for a daytime Emmy or something for this. So, but he'll get over it eventually.
thank you so much, Chief.
All right, any other council?
I have one thing.
Go ahead.
So, just wanted to say I'm a YouTube junkie, and when you came on, I didn't do the usual skip. You can't wait to hit the skip button. I actually watched to the end. Good job. Just want to bring out that on the 23rd of September, we're going to have the Salmon Festival. So on that Saturday, our city should swell to over 12,000 folks. So we're looking for a great event, and just kind of want to just put that in the back of your mind. Just think about the calendar, 23rd of September.
Could you remind us about the chamber dinner this week?
Well, that's already, that's
Okay.
done. That's going to happen.
That's going to happen.
Yeah, so we're going to have some amazing guest speakers, and the Chamber of Commerce, we're going out at Riffles Resort. We're going to have our annual barbecue. But yeah, we're closed as far as taking more folks, but we're looking forward to just a great event out there on the water, and hopefully we'll turn the corner on the heat. So otherwise we might melt.
All right. Council done? How about staff?
Sure, just a couple quick updates, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want to welcome Patrick over there, Patrick Pyatt, our new Community Development Director. Evan, and he's doing a great job. And I want to also, I know everyone met Fred Mayo, our new Public Works Director. Week number 3. Both of them have absolutely hit the ground running, are doing a great job.
No.
Oh, yes. Hit the ground running. They've done an outstanding job meeting folks and just really trying to get to the nuts and bolts of what some of the issues are.
Okay.
And finally, welcome to Kayla Reister, our new Assistant City Clerk. This is her second day on the job. Thrilled to have Kayla join our team. I was fortunate enough to work with her when I was with the county, and I just, again, I think we're very fortunate to be able to have Kayla on the team, so thank you, Kayla. And one other quick update, the grand jury report came out in the end of June. I just wanted to give the council a brief update. I'm working with Mr. Huber on a draft response. That'll probably be done in the next week, and then the plan is to meet with the executive committee to get further input and then bring it before your council on September 5th for review and direction. And then obviously if it changes, it has to be reported back or filed back to the grand jury by the end of September. So we'll be looking forward to, we'll have an executive meeting here in the next couple of weeks, bring it to the council on September 5th.
All right.
That's all I have.
Thank you. I'd like to make a quick mention that the pavement work that's been done by the crews is wonderful.
Yes.
They just don't patch up the road. They really make it look good. So kudos to the crews working on the pavements out there. It's a good job.
And I'll just say, Fred just texted me a second ago because we were wondering, just getting some data together, and the striper has done how many?
About 10 miles this summer already.
10 miles this summer with the new striper.
All the crosswalks around the school zones and stop bars and all throughout the town.
It looks real good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
and I'll say that I know the council gave direction it's been probably a couple months now. Time flies so fast. To look into addressing speed zones and speed limits in school zones. I just want to let you know that we've costed out what these signs would cost. We're reaching out to the schools now to see to try to assess what the school's perception is if it's an issue at each school site. But then also we're gathering some data right now. Fred has worked with the chief, and they've put out, you probably have seen them actually, they were on Montgomery Street, I believe yesterday. There's signs around schools now that have the speed limit's 25, you're traveling 26 or 27. But what that'll do is it'll actually track data, so we'll have a better pulse on how much traffic flow is going by these school zones and also what their speed limit is. So we're trying to get some more data before we come back to give the full council report. But I can say the signs, I think they were
A little pricey.
$13,000 per sign. So very pricey. That doesn't include installation. So again, we want to gather more information before we come back to discuss options proceeding forward.
Good. Good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Next item is consent calendar.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, before we go on, just related to the comment about the grand jury report, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. There's a document there from the city treasurer, Carolyn Fairbanks. She was asked to respond by the grand jury. I will use the term asked because they cannot require a response from her, but she did want to provide one. And that's the response that is there.
Gotcha.
She just signed it today, so that's there for you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just
Yes.
report real quickly that on the 1st of August, we had National Night Out. I'm not sure if anyone has reported back on that yet, but we had approximately 750 to 1,000 people that arrived and enjoyed the event for several hours. It was well attended. It was a very nice community meeting. We were able to, or the crowd consumed over 500 hot dogs. I mean, somehow or another, we miscounted and we're 60 buns short, so that required a quick store run and wiping out of a store of all the hot dog buns they had. So, but neither here nor there. It was a great event. It was well attended. I was very happy to see all of you there and enjoying the evening. And, the community, I think, really did it. It was really impactful for my officers to get to know the community, to interact with the community, and have the community know them as well. So we hope to do more events like that. We're looking forward to doing another one next month, a smaller version of that. The other thing I'd like to report on is the business owners meeting. We attended that last Thursday. Several of you were there. I mean, we heard important issues, and there were good takeaways from that meeting. I think it was a good exchange. There's people that are frustrated. We hear that. We understand their frustration, and some of the frustrations that I took away from it as an administrator some of the things that, how we're communicating. I mean, what we're telling people. I mean, that's just, and that's something that we can work on. We will be working on. Some of the things we're not going to be repeating because, and I don't mean because it's vulgar or obscene, it's just not the right message. It's not the message you give people. So, but I think that all the council members that were there, thank you for being there. Thank you for, listening to our community. I mean, I was proud of each of you. I mean, I think it was a difficult thing to do. But it was well worth hearing. I mean, they are putting their heart and soul into it. They're putting it all in, all on the line every single day. I mean, so we have to support them as best we can. And I can assure you that from the perspective of the police department, we're going to gear ourselves to do that because we do appreciate them and we appreciate what they do for our community.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I will mention at that meeting that I don't think any of us council members knew either one of us was going to be there, and it just happened that 4 of us actually went to that meeting, and I just mentioned to the rest of them that because of the Brown Act, that would make a quorum, so the councilman can just sit and listen. We really can't interrupt a dialogue, but I certainly think that every councilman cared to be there, and they would have loved to have offered a lot of comments to it, but that's the rules we have to play behind, and I just want everybody at the meeting to understand that. If we have 4, if it's not an agenda item, we can't really speak to anything, so we just, have an ability to listen. So.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I was remiss in not recognizing John Zilich. John actually, he put a lot into that at National Night Out between his equipment and, being on the mic. I mean, as much as I like to talk in front of people, I found somebody who likes to talk more. I mean, but I am very grateful for that. I appreciate everything you did, John. I appreciate your effort. I appreciate his dedication. I just want to recognize him because he did an incredible job for us that night.
Well, and you also go along with Councilman Weber that did the same thing before your arrival. So he's fairly recognized. Well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Can I say one more thing?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. I also wanted to acknowledge. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I also wanted to, I didn't see you over there, Chief Tens, sitting in the corner. So I wanted to acknowledge, take a moment to acknowledge that I had a tour of the new, what is it called? Table Mountain?
It's not a training center, I learned that.
No, good evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I was going to touch on this a little bit tonight as well during the Fire Department's report. But what Councilmember Weber's referring to is Table Mountain Fire Center.
Yeah.
It's been open now roughly for about 3 weeks. And I'll wait after your comment and then I can update a little more information on it.
All right. What's that?
I said after you
I
finish
just
your
wanted
comment.
to tell you, thank you so much for the tour. I went up there, it was great. I mean, they turned the old racquetball club into the Table Mountain Fire Center, or Command Center. And I'll let you talk about it because it's your baby, you're the one that developed it. But I just wanted to say thank you for the tour. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was great seeing those guys exercising and how the whole thing's laid out. So I just really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. We're honored to do it. And then I just also wanted to advertise it. We haven't released it yet to the public, but August 30th, coming up, I believe it's about 15 days away right now, from 10 to noon, we will have a grand opening ribbon cutting ceremony. Everybody's welcome. It'll be flown out via social media and to the media for people to come out and see the new fire center. But to give you a little bit of history on it, it's about a 15,000 square foot building that was essentially abandoned in the city limits. CAL FIRE wanted to bring the business into the Oroville as part of that cooperative agreement. And we have 3 crews that are housed out of there with 1 crew a day. And we're getting some early words of maybe some more funding coming for additional crews next year for that as well, but we'll see in the near future. So 10 to 12, 4551 Ordam Boulevard East, formerly known as Oroville Racquetball Club, Table Mountain Fire Center.
Would you also identify the fact that what is the status of these crews? Because a lot of folks can equate crews to prisoners.
Yeah, so these are Firefighter 1 crews. They're CAL FIRE employees. They're not CDCR. They're not 3Cs. They're actually CAL FIRE crews. They're young kids that are interested in the fire service and take the entry-level classes and training. And then we bring them on and we continue that training. And then their formal mission is SRA and kind of protecting the state responsibility area. Although they are in the city, that's not their primary function. But there is some aspects of that cooperative agreement where we could bring them into the city to help out with some stuff as well. But technically, they're not there for the city. It's not a fire engine. These are hand crews. They're there for wildland fires, WUI interface kind of stuff. And they're the ones that are going out, they're beating the ground, and they're cutting line around fires. So there's no water, they're not EMTs, not responding to structure fires, medicals, or anything like that. They're strictly there for wildland protection.
Thank you, sir.
Coverage and service for.
Yeah, so there's another fire center in the northern county in Magalia, and that's the 3 Cs program. But this is a little different, but kind of the same function, and they do the same thing. But also during the report, I did want to mention too, as you can see tonight, I have my shroud on my badge. We lost 2 CAL FIRE firefighters. One of them was a division chief such as myself, Josh. I did know him as unfortunate in a helicopter crash, and Captain Tim Rodriguez. So I just wanted to recognize them tonight as well. And then also we have deployed 3 firefighters from Butte to help out Maui, as well as part of the incident command team. They won't be going over there and fighting fire or anything like that, but we'll go over there and assist them. Unfortunately, we're a little experienced with some devastation like that they've recently been through, and we can go out there and hopefully lend some of our experience and knowledge and give them a hand and help them organize and maybe give some of them a little bit of a breather and rest. So that's the end of my report. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, folks, any other administration? No? Okay. Then we'll entertain the consent calendar. Any council have any items on the consent to pull? If not, I will entertain a motion to pass the consent.
A motion that we adopt the consent calendar?
I second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Johnstone?
Yes.
Councilmember Riggs?
Yes?
Councilmember Thompson?
Yeah.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Weber?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pittman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now we're to regular business. Item number 5 is an agreement amendment for professional services with Jennifer Arbuckle Consulting for the SB 1383 implementation and compliance, reduction of organic waste in landfills for fiscal year 2023/24.
I have that.
No, sir.
Okay,
Mr. Belcher.
so the council will consider amending the professional services agreement with Jennifer Arbuckle Consulting for grant management and State Bill 1383 compliance fiscal year 23-24. Nearly all Cal Recycle regulations are found in Title 14 and Title 27 of the California Code of Regulations. Previously, there were 4 diversion programs in effect. However, a 5th program has been put in effect, and that's State Bill 1383. It came in effect January 1st, 2022. Additionally, the city has also adopted ordinance 13.08 to meet the necessary regulations mandated by State Bill 1383. There is a lot of moving parts to this process. There's a lot of training that goes involved with our recycling coordinator, working with Recology. I believe Patrick signed 330 waivers this week of businesses that have been contacted, and that's only a small percentage of the businesses
Yeah.
that have gone through that won't fit in this requirement. But in October 21st, the council entered an agreement with Jennifer Arbuckle Consulting. She's a qualified professional consultant to provide grant management and implementation of State Bill 1383. This agreement was extended September of 22 for fiscal year 22 and 23. Additional services include stakeholder engagement, sustainable development, education, marketing, as well as support and guidance to allow smooth transition to the new recycling coordinator. The amendment included services $95 per hour for up to 100 hours per month. Jennifer, I've had multiple meetings with her, sat in on meetings with Recology. She is, nose to the grindstone. And this is a very tough implementation program, and getting on board with the city of Oroville, with Recology, getting the recycling coordinator trained. It's a lot of work, and she puts in a lot of time, a lot of effort in this, and also manages multiple grants. We have 4 grants now surrounding recycling. We just got a new grant. It's $50,000 to go towards tire amnesty. So there's a lot of moving parts, and it takes a lot of direction. And this is very important for us to keep Arbuckle Consulting on board. I would say easily for the next couple years.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, just to echo what Mr. Belcher was saying, Jennifer, I've sat on numerous calls with her as well. She is phenomenal. And this is something that there's so many details and mandates that the city does not want to go sideways on the reporting requirements, and she does a heck of a job. She really does. And I agree, this is for 1 year. We'll probably be back again next year for at least one more year after that, I suspect, as the program evolves and gets implemented throughout the city.
Any council questions? Any questions from the public on this item? Seeing none, I will comment, this is a state mandate that they threw at us. We didn't choose this. We were just responding to this mandate. And it's one of those mandates that they're not supposed to be able to tell us to do something, but they gave us the ability to charge more for it, which is, I think, unacceptable, but that's the way the business runs. So I would entertain a motion on this item.
I move that we approve the amendment to the agreement with Jennifer R. Bunkle Consulting for grant management of SB 1383.
A second.
Motion and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Johnstone?
Yes.
Councilmember Riggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Weber?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pittman?
Yes.
Thank you, motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 6, the annual use of military equipment under the Oroville Municipal Code.
Good evening or afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Council. What you have before you this afternoon is consideration and an opportunity for the community to provide input and the council to provide input on the military equipment that is maintained by the Oroville Police Department. This is a requirement of AB 481, and 481 amended the government code in sections 7070 and 7075 to define what is military equipment and made it an annual requirement that the local police departments report back to their governing bodies what types of equipment that they may or may not have within their inventory. In 2022, the City of Oroville Council adopted an ordinance, it was 1865, that requires the police department to bring this report forward every year. It is a summary of how the military equipment is used. It's a summary of complaints and concerns and results of any internal audits, the total annual cost, and how much equipment that we maintain, quantity, and things like that. The report is attached to the item. There is, this last year, we've obtained no new equipment. Military equipment is very loosely defined by the government code and is not what you think. It's not tanks or airships or anything like that. It could be simple things like a drone. I mean, they consider that. It's defined as military equipment. Some of our pepper sprays are considered military equipment. Certain caliber of ammunition is considered military equipment. So those are all listed in here. They're in the annual report. The summary of how the military equipment is used and the purposes for use is attached as required by the ordinance. The summary of complaints or concerns received concerning the military equipment, we received none in 2022-23. There were no internal audits in 2022-23 as a result of a complaint. The total annual cost is attached to the report that is included with the agenda packet. The quantity of ammunition and military equipment is included in the report, which is in the packet. And our intention, if we are asking to acquire any more or specific military style equipment as defined by 7070 and 7075 of the government code, is also attached. Our intent this year is to acquire no new military equipment. The only thing that we would be doing is replenishing ammunition stock as ammunition is used. So with that, we would like to have the council consider this item, provide any information that we can from you, receive any input there is from the public. This was originally noticed on the 1st of August as part of the agenda packet so that it has been published. Once the council approves this item, if the council does approve this item, it would be posted onto our website and available for public view under a section defining this item.
Any questions from council? City Attorney looks like he's going to speak on it.
No, I just wanted to reemphasize, and I know the chief did this, but the term military equipment as defined by the legislature is incredibly misleading. Much of the equipment that is defined as military equipment is non-lethal. And I heard when I was back in college, a radio talk show host said military equipment is stuff that's designed to kill people and break all of their stuff. Well, the equipment that's listed here is not any of those things. Most of it is non-lethal, and it's designed to be non-lethal. So to categorize it as military equipment is, in my opinion, incredibly misleading. Now, again, I'm biased in that, but that's my opinion. But so I wanted it just to be known, much of this equipment, the military actually doesn't use. That's it.
Thanks, sir. Councilman Goodson, did you?
No, I was just, I've been following bits and pieces of the city of Chico, and there's a tremendous amount of pushback. I mean, it passed, but there was such an outcry, and I was just wondering if you knew, in comparison, their military equipment versus ours. Is there a huge discrepancy?
There most likely is between the two inventories, and the reason being is because Chico maintains its own SWAT team, and the SWAT team would have different, they use different tactics, and they also have different types of equipment that they would use, and it would probably include more of the military style equipment.
Thank you.
Any questions from council? Do we have any cards from public at all?
None submitted.
All right. I would entertain a motion from council.
I make a motion that we approve the report.
Getting a motion and second. Can we call the roll, please?
Councilmember Johnstone?
Yes.
Councilmember Riggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Weber?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pittman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 7 is purchase of mobile audio and video systems for marked patrol vehicles. Chief
Good
LaGrone.
afternoon, Mr. Mayor, again, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with the council regarding this issue. This is what I would consider a litigation protection piece of equipment that is necessary for the city to put into all of our patrol vehicles. It doesn't limit or stop litigation, but what it does is it limits your liability by providing a factual video log of what occurred inside and outside of our patrol vehicles. Right now, the patrol vehicles for the Oroville Police Department do not have video capabilities. The only video that's in there is the backup camera, which isn't recorded anywhere. The other cameras that are available are the body-worn cameras that all of our officers have. They're called, abbreviation is BWC, and they're made by a company called Axon, who provides our evidence storage as well through a company called evidence.com. The body-worn cameras are automatically uploaded into the evidence.com and stored there every time that they're docked. They are a piece of equipment that cannot be tampered with or messed with or altered. Once it goes into the system, it's been captured there and it will be there. The cameras that we're suggesting for the vehicles contain a hub that goes into the vehicle that allows cameras to be placed into, which will catch you images of the front of the vehicle in the passenger compartment and is automatically triggered when certain things happen in the vehicle. If collision is detected, I mean, it will automatically activate the cameras. The cameras have what's called a default setting where they go back 30 seconds in time and they start capturing the video from there. So it actually is recording all the time. It just doesn't keep it unless the trigger triggers it or it's turned on. And then it's 30 seconds prior to when you push the button or the trigger has triggered it. It will also activate when the emergency lights are activated. It will activate at certain speeds if a vehicle is exceeding the speeds as that are put in there. And there's a couple different ones, doors being triggered, the rear compartment being open, rear compartment meaning the prisoner compartment when a prisoner is placed in there. So it will trigger automatically. It will give us the data and the video images that we need in order to protect the city against any sort of liability and also protect our officers against unfounded complaints that come in, because it's amazing sometimes when you show somebody a video how the story changes from what they want you to believe to what actually happened. I mean, so it's nice for that. It's also good for when somebody does do something wrong. I mean, it's hard to justify your behavior when you're looking at yourself and it's not good behavior. So it works both ways for us. So what this program is it is an Axon system that integrates with our current evidence.com system, where the videos are automatically captured on certain triggers. It also is captured when the officer activates the camera system. And then it's downloaded automatically when the vehicle comes into a certain proximity of the police department. It will come from the vehicle to the storage system and be stored in the cloud in the evidence.com system. So we have no on-site storage. We have no backside software or any backside hardware that we have to maintain for this. So it goes into there. We have that with all of our other cameras that are available with the body worn and the other piece of this. What's nice about this is when it goes into evidence.com, all of these different cameras, it's all synced together. So when you watch it on a single screen, you're seeing it as it really happens. You're not having to look from this perspective to, well, let's get this perspective to see what happens or anything. It ties it all together in a time sequence so that you can see a flowing event of what occurred or what didn't occur. I mean, so it's not only good for evidence collection, but it's also good for looking at the event as it happened. This is for 25 different units in the vehicles that we have right now. It will be installed in there. This is what's considered a lease to purchase. And, you know, what that means is essentially this is a 5-year deal that we're getting into. Each year is about $80,000. It's $79,047 the first year. That's going to include the installation into the vehicles that are there. And then we will pay for lack of a better term, a subscription fee over the next 4 years to maintain the equipment, keep the equipment, have the licensing for the equipment. At the end of the 5 years, if we choose to exit this program, we keep the equipment, but it's not updated. If we continue on with it and renew the 5 years, what happens with Axon is Axon, like with our tasers and our body-worn cameras, we'll have new equipment. New equipment will be installed, and the other equipment will go back. If it goes bad in the 5 years, we can send it back. They'll replace it. It's an all-encompassing plan. I mean, because it's the same company that we have body-worn cameras and tasers. So this is all the same company. This is all kind of integrating our things together. So this is a good program, I believe, for our city. It's a good program for our department. I think all the way around it works for everyone. It is expensive. I recognize that. I think, but in the long run, I believe this is going to save us money in the event that something happens that we're not particularly proud of. And so this is a good piece of equipment. The second piece to this is our interview room right now, where we'd like to install new new cameras in there as well, using Axon. I mean, because again, it goes to evidence.com. It's tamper-proof. You can't delete it or do anything to it that we don't know about. It's stored off-site. This is a one-time purchase. Once we purchase this, there is no annual fee for this or anything like that, but there is it is a little bit pricey, but that pays for the storage, the off-site cloud storage that's necessary for it. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm more than willing to answer those.
Thank you. Good presentation, Council. Any questions? Oh, Councilman Weber first. Oh, your hand was up first.
My hand was down.
Well, you were saying that it activates and triggers for certain things. Well, is it smart enough to acknowledge? Apologies. Is it smart enough to acknowledge like an accident in front of the vehicle?
Yeah. Not in front of the vehicle. It would do for if the vehicle, say an accident occurs in front of you and you brake very hard and you go into a skid or something, yeah, it's going to come on.
Okay. And so would the operator of the vehicle have access to trigger it if, say, they did see something occurring and they could trigger it fast? Okay.
Yeah, the operator can also, that is one of the main ways. We wanted to take away some of the ability for that. I mean, because we want video all the time of everything.
Right. Okay. And is it rear facing as well outside of the vehicle?
Well, that's kind of a difficult question to answer. Yes and no. Right now, what it is they're going through a different iteration of it, where one generation they have of this software and this program or these cameras are third generation. I mean, but they are running out of those rapidly. So ours are most likely going to be fourth generation, which is going to provide the other cameras, which is going to provide, I will have to come back to this council and ask for a little more money for that if we get into that category. Right now, what the problem is that we're essentially getting in line. We're not going to get these cameras until February or March of next year. And by then, that generation of cameras and software will probably be out and gone. And so we'll have to step to the next one. So to answer your question, long story short, I mean, that was a very long explanation, but the answer is most likely yes.
So, well, that leads up to my next question too. So this is as a subscription service, as updates come along, and we're already involved in this plan with them, and you get updated new cameras or whatever new technology may come out, is that going to be part of that too, where we could get that easily, or?
Yes, I mean, this, if the council approves this, what this will become is part of a patrol vehicle build. I mean, into the future, that's one of the things that we're asking for in the future, that if our fleet expands, that, that you are authorizing me in concurrence with the city administrator and funding being available, that we add a camera to a new vehicle. So this will become part of our standard build. Right now, it costs the city approximately, going off the top of my head, to build a police car, it cost about $72,000, or $72,000 to $75,000. This will take the cost of building the vehicle up to around $80,000 to $81,000 per vehicle.
So, and then it's also, you mentioned the interior as well, so it'll have a camera on the officer as well?
Correct. What this one does right now, this generation does the front and it does the rear passenger compartment. The generation that I believe we're going to be getting is going to be the front, the rear, the officer compartment, and then also the prisoner compartment.
Oh, wonderful. And so this sounds like this is going to be I wrote down level of accountability for our officers.
It's not only accountability, but it protects them. I mean, this is a protective measure for our officers too, against unwarranted complaints. It protects our city when somebody says, hey, they did this, and then you go and you look at the video, whatever this is, and this isn't there. I mean, so that, it's a good thing, I think, all the way around for everyone involved.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Councilman Goodson.
I absolutely agree. I think it's an excellent idea. I recall approximately 1.5 years ago, and I had brought this up. And if you recall, which I know you like Arnold, because you do have total recall. So you do remember the response that was given, and it was not favorable. And so I always, I have that thing in there, things that make you go, I figured someday it would be brought back. So I'm just wondering, the purchase of the mobile audio and video systems, it's just essential. It's a no-brainer. But I would venture to say the reason why it's coming back now is because of Measure U funding, because we now have the financial stability. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am, you're absolutely correct.
Okay, so this is an opportunity to once again thank all the citizens in TV land and here. We thank you for passing and approving Measure U to keep our city safe and our citizens. So thank you.
And you know what it is what you were talking about, is it isn't something in there. You have a shelf where you put things that make you go, remember?
All right.
Yes.
Any other questions from council?
Recall.
Do we have any comment cards or any?
None submitted, Mr. Mayor.
All right, then I would entertain a motion for this agenda item.
Absolutely, so moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Johnstone?
Yes.
Councilmember Riggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Weber?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pittman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council.
All right. Item number 8, North Star Place branding final brand report.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Jordan Daly.
Let me explain. One of the problems, we have a technical issue going on, so we're only going to have it on one monitor. So we'll all be looking at that. The rest of our system is not fully functioning. So they're working real hard here.
You beat me to it.
Yeah.
I was going to explain that.
Okay.
But so this evening, I have been a part of the creative team that has been working on this branding project. Today, you will be receiving the final brand presentation from North Star and Place Branding and Marketing, along with our proposed one-year marketing plan and budget with an additional budget adjustment for implementation. Little background, June 22, council approved an agreement with North Star after a 30-day RFP with the goal to achieve a new overall feeling of belonging within our city. It has been exactly a year ago that North Star came and visited Oroville for their walkthrough to walk downtown, to see all of our implemental areas, to meet with some of our council members, some of our business owners, and it's been a pleasure working with their team. Today we have Sam Preston with us from North Star, and we apologize for the technical difficulties, but we were able to get one monitor working for you guys. He will be presenting North Star's final presentation, which will include their brand point process and strategic marketing plan intended to generate a positive image for Oroville in the minds of residents, visitors, and businesses. So keep it short and sweet so we can hand it over to Sam.
Thank you very much. And I understand, council members, you have the presentation in front of you, but for everybody else here that doesn't have a printed copy, we'll squeeze it in on the small screen here. Like Jordan mentioned, it has been a full year since we were tasked with trying to uncover the brand that existed here in Oroville. Oroville's already had a brand, but we just wanted to figure out what that is. We didn't want to come in and change anything about who you guys are. We didn't want to change the history. We just wanted to figure out all the good parts of Oroville and how to tell that story the best way possible. And hopefully you see that as we go through this process. But to start off, how did we uncover the brand for Oroville? We moved from research to strategy to creativity and then finally into action. We did a ton of research both inside and outside of the community to really try to figure out what's distinct or authentic or ownable to Oroville. So I'll share here in just a second all the research that we did, but our process looks a little bit like an hourglass, where we started with some stakeholder and community education, figuring out what stakeholders and key voices throughout the community would hope for a new brand, what they hoped that it could accomplish and what it could do. And then we move it into insight gathering and research, again, where we did that inside and outside of the community. And we take all of that months-long research and insight gathering, and it boils down into a DNA statement or a long run-on sentence that basically says, this is who and what Oroville is, this is why it matters, this is what you get out of it, and what the benefit is. And then we take all of that and move into some creative development, where we had a couple of the council members sitting in on our creative committee, where we went through logos, taglines, colors, and then ultimately some brand action ideas. In the final report that we just delivered, we turned over about 40 pages of ideas of how to enact this new brand into the community so that it wasn't us just creating a logo and handing it off to the city saying, here you go, make the best use of it that you can. But we really did want this to be integrated and provide lots of opportunities and lots of ideas. You probably have 2.5, 3 years worth of ideas of really how to bring this new brand to life throughout the community. So to recap the research, we heard from over 630 unique inputs during that research phase. During our site visit when we were here a year ago, we talked with over 100 people. There was also a brandingoroville.com site, which many of you may have contributed to, where we heard from 130 people there. We then put together a community-wide survey and heard from over 140 people. We conducted external perception calls, so we talked with people throughout Butte County. We talked with people in neighboring counties to figure out what is Oroville's perception, what is your perspective of it, and what does that outsider's voice think of Oroville, so that again we could figure out that story, maybe how to change the narrative a little bit and tell the story the best way possible. And then also we surveyed people all the way down to Sacramento, and we heard from 248 external consumer voices, again trying to figure out that external voice, what people know of Oroville, how far out that reputation goes, and then maybe what it's known for. So just to recap a little bit of that research, and I mentioned earlier that brandingoroville.com site, there is that 300-page report if any of you want some light bedtime reading. If you go to brandingoroville.com, you can scroll down just a little bit, and there's a little button that says download the research report where you can have all 300 pages just for you. So these are some of the things that we saw and heard during our community or during our site visit. I'm not going to read through all of these, but as we had these conversations, we asked people to describe Oroville in just 1 or 2 words, and some of the top things that came up were family-friendly, resilient, it's beautiful, generous and supportive, it's scenic and active. Some of the best assets are the outdoor recreation, the scenic beauty, after bay and forward bay, the quality of life and lower cost of living. And I understand cost of living is going up, and that's everywhere, but it is still relatively affordable to some of the neighboring areas. Small town character and that sense of community. And then also some opportunities that existed. Some reputation management, some outdoor recreation, trying to capitalize on that. Trying to boost the community pride and self-esteem. There are a lot of passionate people here, as you saw for the first 15, 20 minutes of council tonight, hearing from some of those community voices. People are very passionate about where they live, and they want it to be the best place possible. quality of life, and then also tourism and destination development, truly making this a place where people want to come and stay. In that community survey, we asked people, what are Oroville's 2 greatest assets? And there was an overwhelming response, but the number one thing was waterways by the lake, the river, the bays, and then the other top things here, the genuine small town feel and downtown. I won't read all of these quotes here, but we did ask people what distinguishes Oroville from other nearby communities. And the top 4 themes that came up were the dam and Lake Oroville, the recreational opportunities, the scenic location, and the loyal and diverse community. So you might be kind of getting a little bit of a theme going here. And then this was an open-ended response. But what is iconic in Oroville? The dam, Table Mountain, Feather River, and also Lake Oroville. So all of that leads to this strategy, the long DNA statement, run-on sentence here. But what we came up with the creative committee is for those wanting a down-to-earth, more affordable California lifestyle, Oroville, the tenacious and scenic center of Butte County and the Sierra foothills, stewards an abundance of what the rest of California prizes, water, so you can reinvigorate, recreate, and relax. And want to read a little bit of a brand narrative. We put together a couple pages worth of just background about what it means to live in Oroville, what it means to experience Oroville, and truly just what it is at its core. And so what I've got here is California has long invited folks to find themselves in the Golden State, but that generous welcome has become parched. For many, California appears unaffordable or unsustainable or worse, uninviting. But there is still a spot that can quench your thirst for California without draining your spirit or your wallet. Nestled in the scenic Sierra foothills, Oroville presents California's beauty and bounty at your front door, with the mountains and beaches just a short drive away. Think, thrill, and thrive. Where do we do these best? Always along the water, any body of water. And where do you go for adventure, for relaxation, to gather family memories? We often start with water. It just draws us closer. Oroville is a generous community that is quick to respond when folks are in need. It's where the West trains to handle and preserve power at Lineman's College, and where people can enjoy a sense of belonging regardless of their length of stay. It's a place of opportunity and expertise, a diverse economy, and active industrial park. Oroville affords you the professional prospects and lifestyle balance that many have thought can only exist outside the state. So bring your job or find one here. Where else can you finish your work day? Where else can you finish your work day and within minutes get on, in, or along any number of favorite waterways to reinvigorate and relax? We are stewards of great resources and each other in Oroville. We invite you to be in the moment here, your moment. We invite you to find yourself belonging along our water. And so, want to share with you, as you can kind of see as I've been sharing from this PowerPoint presentation, a little bit of a foreshadowing here, if you will, but want to share the new Oroville logo and tagline with you. What we've got here is the new tagline would be belong along our water. And that speaks to residents, that speaks to businesses, that speaks to economic development or tourism, whatever it is. We invite one and all to belong along our water. The logo itself has the curves and the letter forms and serifs so that it delivers both an established and a welcoming feeling. A water element is incorporated to tie into the strategy and one of the key benefits. And it's paired with a clean typeface with California there. So it's a friendly treatment of the strapline to match the tone of the line itself. So the next thing I want to share, oops, if I can get the mouse back over. These are some of the brand standards colors, and as part of that final report, we shared a brand standards guide so that as you work with different vendors, flag shops, apparel shops, whatever it is, you can share this brand standards guide with them just to maintain that brand equity and the strength of the brand continues on. And now I want to share with all of you some of the City of Oroville brand executions. So a lot of ideas of how we can bring this brand to life in a visual way, but then like I mentioned, also in that final report are an additional 40 pages worth of ideas of some more brand action ideas. So as we implement the new brand, you can see what the new city vehicles could look like, what the city fleet would be, and putting that tagline on the back, on the tailgate here, belong along our waters, just a nice way to reinforce wherever you go that you do belong here in Oroville. Here's a site selector or economic development packet and folder, and you can kind of change the message to however you want it, but it's what you can see here on the left is where your business belongs. You can see what the new website could look like, and none of these are, these are meant to just give inspiration as to what you can do. It's kind of a, hopefully you use these as jumping off points, but these are some great examples of how this brand can be executed and how it can be brought to life. Same thing with social media. The profile photo is just the logo itself, and then you can use some of that great photography that you have and put the tagline in the header image. Same thing with Instagram. You can see the different reels or the stories there at the top have different colors associated, and then even different types of branding within the posts that you have on Instagram. So you've got some emergency communications, some events communications, and then some hiring posts too. So all three different styles, all representative of the new brand. For different events, you can have these tabletop or some tablecloths or even these pull-up banners. Some of the headlines here: this is where your business belongs, or belong in the moment, belong along our water. And some opportunities, some living environment type monuments where you can have some interactive experiences to promote some selfie walls. As we know, kids want selfie walls or TikTok videos or whatever it is, want to post something and want to give people an opportunity to share our message and to share the city of Oroville in their own networks. You can have these kind of children's coloring books or coloring images when you go out to eat. Place one of these in front of the kids so they can color while the food is coming. You can see what a new coaster would look like, but then you know that you've really made it when some of the breweries in town really adopt the brand and put it on their pint glasses in the breweries, and then also share your coasters in there as well. And then again, you tweak that tagline to however you want, so this is where your drink belongs. Some entryway signage. So what it looks like, instead of just those traditional green signs that say Oroville population, you can bring this to life a little bit better. And what you can hopefully gather is, as all of this branding comes to life, as people come through, as they see a lot of these elements, they just get the sense that the city of Oroville has it going on. It's a very orchestrated effort. There's repeated touch point after touch point of strong branding. Some more monument signage that could be executed throughout the city. And then also some new signage around City Hall. And the City Council chambers, just right outside. And then in the parks, again, some monument signage that could reinforce that message that you belong along our waters. Some alleyways could be reconstructed to really bring that living environment to life again, welcoming people downtown, trying to drive people back downtown and make it a true destination. And then also some adventure journals, water bottles and hats, all just reinforcing that message as well. And a new city flag, hanging right there next to the American flag, the state flag, and then, of course, your own city flag. Some kayaks and paddles, oars. And then just the last thing I want to share here is some visual direction. So as you work to promote the city in different ads or publications or whatever else it is, just want to show how really everything comes to life between the great photography that you already have, the logo, the tagline, the colors, the fonts, the imagery, everything here just kind of plays together really well so that you can have some hero images and then lots of reinforcement messages in those images down at the bottom. But this is, as Jordan mentioned, it has been a full year since we've been here in Oroville, and it's nice to kind of see it be completed and just the great process that we went through to get here. From hearing from the community throughout the process, we wanted to make sure that we did hear from as many people as possible and give everyone an opportunity to speak and weigh in, because this is a community brand, and we want the community to get behind it and really feel like they do belong, and want to promote that to friends and family and everybody else, that this is a great place to live, work, or visit. So thank you very much.
Okay. Council, questions? Comments? Oh, well, we can do that if you'd like. Any public or any blue cards?
None submitted, Mr. Mayor.
None submitted? Anyone would like to come up and speak? Looking at the audience? You've absorbed something brand new. This is the unveiling. Council questions? Go ahead, Chris. Well, let me say a couple things. We've had two councilmen serve on this committee. Vice Mayor Smith and Chrissy have done some yeoman's work here. So I want to compliment them before we begin, because it's not easy to do that and to keep a secret, because they haven't told any of us any of this. So that's a good job on their part. Councilman Riggs, go ahead.
It is true. It is hard to keep it a secret, and the excitement. And I just wanted to thank the rest of the team and North Star. Honestly, the amount of diligence that goes into this and care that goes into this is something that I really appreciate. I think so often people just go with what they think, and I just really appreciate the amount of research that that took place to identify and really develop what it is that we're already feeling, but we're not communicating clearly. So I just wanted to appreciate that to start. On a personal note, even in listening to this presentation, which I've heard a few times, and every time something new sticks out to me, but on a personal note, I could see how, as a council member or as a staff person or as a community advocate, somebody who just is passionate about Oroville, like I know so many of us are, how they can adopt this branding in their own communication and in their own strategy. And I think that it's something that it's really unique, because it is our community. So in thinking about it, it's like, even this weekend, I rode my bike along I started at Saddle Dam and rode over to the visitor center along the water. And then later that afternoon, my husband and I went fishing. You fish along the water or in the water. Well, I didn't fish, I read. And so it's like, it is so unique that we get all of this opportunity for recreation, and that's unique and that's exciting and it's exceptional for our community. And then we've also, as a community, lost the perspective of how valuable and how lucky we really are, and how much opportunity we have to invest further in those areas. I'm looking at our new staff. Invest further in those areas to uplift them, further develop them, and even align ourselves more with the concepts within the brand. So I see this both as a way for us all to communicate really clearly and collectively about Oroville in an authentic way, but also for us to really look at where are we going, where are those opportunities, and identifying that, yeah, these natural resources are assets, and we should treat them as such and invest in them as such. So I look forward, and I appreciate the work, and I thank this council for even going in this endeavor for the past year.
Councilman, or Vice Mayor Smith, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is always, when you think about rebranding, it's a challenge. And I really appreciate all of the research and development that was done to really try to capture the essence of what makes Oroville unique. I think about 20 years ago, before my time, but the chamber and the city cooperatively developed a strap line called "The Fun Starts Here." And I think, like anything, everything has a shelf life. And it worked, and it was a wonderful campaign. But, there's some that say you have to reinvent yourself from time to time to stay relevant, right? I mean, the things that people enjoy today are somewhat different than perhaps just several years ago. I'm sure that some of you are looking at it going, I don't know about that. But just kind of for, I think, context, That was one of the things that drew me personally up to Oroville back in the 90s when I started visiting. One of the craziest things I did was take my ski boat and put it on the Feather River just right out of town and skied on the river. It was crazy. But I just love coming up here and doing water stuff. And so we are a community of 5 lakes. We have a river running right through town. And there are amazing projects on the ramp to be done, all relating to water once and I think that's going to come up a little later, talking about a letter going to FERC. But once the dam is relicensed, there's a $1 billion commitment by DWR. One of the things that's going to happen, the Lakeland Boulevard project, which the diversion pool is going to be completely reimagined. There's new campsites going out at the wildlife area. It's being developed in cooperation with Sabuca. There's just a lot of cool stuff. We have a 12,000 acre wildlife area. That was another thing I would do, is bring my shotgun and my friends, and we'd come to the Oroville Wildlife Area and slog around out there and shoot at stuff, legally, of course. And so we are a community that's just surrounded by water activities, water sports. Of course, we sport the second largest lake in the state. Over 160 miles of shoreline. I mean, you can just go on and on and on. Why, from my perspective, when it comes to communicating or messaging and attracting people to Oroville, I can do a lot in my other job, my day job, with this particular strap line. And also my company, we populate the 4 billboards out on Highway 99. I'm already jazzed about what I can do, or we can do cooperatively with some of this new messaging. And like anything else, it has a life expectancy. One of the things that I did a couple of years ago, I come up with a new strap line, The Adventure Begins Here. In fact, out on Highway 99 right now, that campaign is running out there. You see the jet skis and the kids splashing in the water. And but they're all water thematic, nevertheless. So we'll just kind of continue on with that theme and then building on it. So I'm just excited about the next page to turn and what we can do to message people that need to come and have the Oroville experience. Often we focus on the negative pieces and frustration, and we have our work to do, certainly as a community. But this campaign, and I think all the work that's been done, the logo, it's fresh, it's new, and I'm sure it's going to take, like I said, some time to digest it. I'm sure there'll be a little bit of pushback here and there. But if you wait around long enough, I'm sure this one will change too someday, right? If we live long enough. But yeah, I'm just really jazzed. And the other thing, when I look at the Fun Starts here, it has a little water splash on the bottom. So water's been around in the logoing and the build out for many, many decades. It's kind of, what makes us unique. And I think building on that and developing that, then to message out beyond regionally, like the Salmon Festival, sharing with that, we had over 12,000 visitors last year, up 4,000 from 2019. So, we're capturing folks. People are interested in what we have to offer as a community, and when they come here, we want to certainly roll out the red carpet and give them an amazing experience. And that's all toward economic development and building up businesses and, having a lot of vitality in our community. So I guess I'm just looking forward to it, and I'm sure we'll hear some of the other side as well, but that's my perspective. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Goodson, you next?
Yes. So outside of Vice Mayor Smith and Councilwoman Chrissy, was I the only one that had an opportunity to go inside the room and look at the draft of this and share?
No, every council member was invited to
Okay.
view
I was
the final
wondering.
presentation.
All right.
Today it was presented first time to the public and for your guys' final approval. So the only council member that was doing it for the first time today was John Stone.
Okay. So, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Of course.
I come from a different perspective. I don't know if anybody else in this room saw Jaws but I saw Jaws, and you're not going to get me in the water. And so, in order to understand and receive this, belong and along our water, I had to have an out-of-body experience. And so I appreciate what you've come up with. I understand the narrative. I understand the attraction of the waterways that we have, the trails. And actually, to be honest with you, I understand through Councilwoman Christie's TikToks as along the trails and the waterways. And so I've really been enjoying the experience. And I live life through you.
You can come for a bike ride.
Oh, no, I don't know. No, I wear heels. So definitely kudos. I appreciate all the hard work and the hours. Every penny was worth it from my perspective, and you have my John Hancock.
Thank you.
I'll go next.
All right, Council, you ready?
Thank
Scott
you.
Thompson.
Yeah, I appreciate the comments from Councilwoman Goodson. Because in regarding the hard work and time and effort that was put into the project, it is evident, and kudos to those involved. During my preview of the unveiling of the rebranding project, I communicated this to them, so this is not their first time hearing this, but just to be candid, I loathe, and it's strong, belong along our water. Yeah, just like Councilman Smith said in regarding, shelf life. I think we already have a beautiful tagline, City of Gold. And, I think that that's timeless for our city. And so a lot of our citizens, like Councilwoman Goodson, come to Oroville for many reasons. Not all of them are pigeonholed into the water. And Oroville is a community of rich history and diverse history, and it's a beautiful city. So for me, I love the logo, I love the O, and all of that. I just can't swallow the belong along the water. So I would prefer it just be classic, simple, long-term, 100 years from now, Oroville, City of Gold. It is what we are. It's who we are. So we can, as far as the belong along, it's not that has to be trashed, because those who would like to use it for advertising could always throw that in there. But if I saw a city truck go by with the belong along our water, I'd probably have a really hard time swallowing that each time. So I would just prefer, and I know I'm just picking on the one thing that I disagree with, but I would just love for the main, shirts, trucks, all the main stuff, it just simply say Oroville City of Gold. So again, you guys have heard this before, but I feel very strongly about that, and I would hope that it would just say City of Gold. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead. You too? No, okay. Go ahead.
So there's a part of me that agrees with that. From a sustainability and long-term aspiration, because, again, when it comes to other campaigns, this is a great campaign. It's like I see it as a 36-month, 24-month campaign that I would use vigorously as one of the stakeholder businesses that markets the city. But long-term sustainability, as far as a heritage or historical reference, I tend to agree with Councilman Thompson on this from that particular point of view. And again, going back to the Fun Starts Here campaign, or the Venture Begins Here campaign, or Belong Along Our Water, it feels campaigny to me a little bit. And it's something that could be used as in that sense. But as far as a evergreen representation as a strapline for the city, I like that, the City of Gold, because, Oroville, I mean, just all the historical nature. Ophir was one time the name of the city, I believe. And so that is something to kind of consider, but I think everything there is usable as presented. But do we want to make along our water a evergreen strapline for the city, for the next 20, 30 years? Or I don't know. And we can certainly have this conversation, and maybe we can hear from North Star as well on that. I'm sure you probably anticipated maybe that, since there's apparently been some conversation and maybe some reference.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And so with the taglines or straplines, as you mentioned or alluded to, they typically do have a shelf life. Usually don't last 20 years or 15 years. It usually is about 3 to 7 years, 5 years on average. But what we often see other communities do, just like the city seal won't go away, that's not something that y'all are doing away with just because you have a new city logo. The city seal is kind of elevated. It belongs in council chambers. It belongs on official letterhead. It is the official mark of the city. And oftentimes you could do the same thing with the City of Gold, so that still has its roots. It still exists. And then the Belong Along Our Waters has applications in lots of areas. But that is just a consideration that has been done in other communities. It's kind of elevating that evergreen tagline while integrating another type of message for economic development or visitation or future residents.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councilman Johnstone.
Thank you so much. Great presentation. I apologize that I was not able to get there beforehand, but I have been following along. So I agree. I think it was a great presentation. I would have to agree with Councilman Scott on that. I think that waterways is definitely, what we're known for, but I think we're also known for other things as well. We're horse trails, hiking trails. There's all kinds of different recreation that we can be focusing on to bring not just people that want to boat or not people that just want to swim. So, I would have to say that although the logos are amazing and I love the presentation, I think that there's a lot more to Oroville than just our waterways. And so I would have to agree with the City of Gold logo. I don't know how we could incorporate that into it as well, but there's so much more than just water to Oroville.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Councilman Briggs.
Thank you. I think that one thing that is important to note is that the water part is uniquely distinct to Oroville. And so in the research that they were really working to identify what is distinct and ownable for our community and unique to our community compared to other communities. And that time and time again, the research indicated that the waterways were that. And that many of those horse trails, hiking trails, biking trails, all of those things are in fact along the water. And so I think that that's kind of the thought process is it's not in the water, right? You don't have to want to swim, but you've probably enjoyed the trails and the other recreational or opportunities that are offered along the water. So I think for me, the City of Gold, I think it's already in our name, in Oroville. And that it's something that we continue to use as a heritage piece and as a long-term piece, absolutely. But in campaign or in marketing, that's something that is uniquely distinct to us and uniquely leverageable for us is really valuable.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I just wanted to
go ahead.
Just to continue this conversation. Yeah, I as far as having it on our vehicles along our water, whether or not we'd want to go to that extent, that's I'm not sure. I think City of Gold, certainly that is has the history
and all of that along with it. Yeah, and the campaigns are, you know, I was being a little facetious on that, you know, as far as the longevity. Obviously, I've done two since I've been here. I've been here a little over 5 years, so kind of goes more along with, I think, your comments. But that being said, I mean, certainly there's a lot to be done, and it is a distinctive as far as a community, you know, back to the 5 lakes, the river running through it, all of those dynamics. And just being able to enjoy the waterways or watching the ducks or the geese. I rode my mountain bike into work this morning, and we have Canadian geese now out on the river this morning, which is cool. You know, I haven't seen them all summer long, but they were out there. So, you know, there's just a lot to enjoy. And I think that presents an opportunity and a theme that's inviting, again, and leveraging, I think, to, you know, promote our community. I'm not sure how far to take that, you know, and I don't even know, in this moment, we're able to and Christy looks like she has, Councilwoman Riggs has something to share with that. But I think we need to use this. I think we need to adopt it. I'm just not sure how far we would want to take it when it comes to, you know, putting that strap line or tagline on everything because of the other historical elements that we have here to Councilman Thompson's comments, which I respect and I think are something to consider. I'm done.
Are you next?
I think we're talking about two different things, you know, and I was, as you were commenting, Councilman Scott, I was thinking there's many conferences that I go to in the Bay Area. I'm a it's in my contact. And so I'm the church secretary for Northern California Region CME Churches. And there's, I think every person there, they may not remember my name, but one thing that they always say, where's the lady from the City of Gold? And it's just prevalent. And so we'll never get away from that. Yeah. I mean, that's huge. That's historical. That's what we're known for. But I also know that, like we were mentioning during campaign seasons and for advertising and marketing, you've got to market your greatest assets. Yes. So I think it's two different things.
Let me take a moment for myself to, can we go to the slide that shows Miners Alley real quick as an example?
Can we get some air?
And the reason I'm going to bring this up is I shared with some others that are good friends of mine, and the first thing they said to me, that right there just draws them in.
Yeah.
They're going to go to Miners Alley, they're going to go, they want to do it. And that little river walk, the suggestion, and I'm making this suggestion for all of you because we're looking for your suggestions too as we move forward with this and the campaign evolves. Wouldn't it be great to have that same river pattern on all the sidewalks downtown? So that you river walk all the businesses in downtown, as an example. And I'm just throwing that out there because that's where we can do things. I mean, I'm sure our new painting machines might be able to paint some sidewalks, you know? I mean, it's a little different pattern, but, you know, getting wavy, doesn't seem to be hard to do. But anyway, as far as the tagline goes, I think there's probably a couple different purposes for this tagline. For identity of the City of Gold, that works. But if we're trying to use a little different tagline for marketing people and coming into town, maybe the other one works. So,
I'm there.
yeah, I'm thinking that maybe your staff can come back with our, you know, the places where we put it to hit that target audience and then still have our identity. And as far as city vehicles go, I think the identity of the vehicle is great. And then small city seal, like the 4-inch one on the back, and maybe City of Gold fits the identity of the vehicle a little better.
Yeah. Yes, please.
You know,
Yes, please.
and I'm just adjusting, okay?
Yes, please.
So, and identifying those fixed assets, but where we're trying to bring in those folks from outside, right.
Yeah.
And then they get here
Right.
and they understand it, so. Go ahead, Councilman Riggs.
I think that we just need to reorient, and you just said this, in that these were implementation ideas.
Yes.
Not set in stone. These are
Right.
concepts that our staff will work and our, extended contract with North Star will work to identify what are the best use cases for each individual item. So
Right.
we're not approving to put belong along the waters
Yeah.
on trucks that have nothing to do with water. But we are approving that this is the general messaging that our community, that we are going to utilize and leverage to enhance our community pride, to market our community for business and for tourism. And so I think that it's just really important to delineate, like, we're
Yeah.
not saying this goes on everything.
No.
No.
But at the
This
same.
will be a case by case. These were concepts and ideas. For
Right.
example, the kayaks. Can we forward to the kayaks? Gosh, that makes a lot of sense, especially as we're talking about building a kayak kiosk or as we
Yeah.
support the Fort Bay Aquatic
Sure.
Center.
In that location.
Absolutely. Who
Right.
isn't taking a picture on their kayak and getting our logo in that picture, which they're going to post,
Yeah.
is
Right.
ideal. So like, I think absolutely there are cases that this is perfect.
Yep.
Doesn't mean we put it on everything.
No.
And that's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
And I just,
Yes, yes,
remember,
please.
this is ideas,
Yeah. Well,
concepts.
I think you've gotten a fair amount of advice from this council. And I think it helps, gives you something to work with, for that. Any other questions from council? Oh, yes. Councilman Weber, please.
Yeah, thank you. So one of the first conversations we had when we first started talking about how you guys were going to collect data, I encouraged you not to focus on the lake because I told you, I don't remember if it was you particularly, but I told whoever was on the Zoom call, like, if you want to do the easy layup and the easy thing, then focus just on the lake. So then when we came in and I went to the police station and I had the presentation and watched this presentation, I was initially a lot more impressed than I currently am, okay? And then the farther down the road I've thought about this, the less impressed I get. So I agree with Councilman Thompson that I do not like the tagline at all. I had the unique opportunity a couple years ago at the height of COVID. My wife and I did something that nobody else was, well, I'm sure some people were doing, but we decided to drive all the way across the country and take advantage of the cheap gas prices and cheap hotel rooms. And it was a lot of fun. We took a bunch of our kids in a tiny little minivan and packed up, and we put like 10,000 miles on the minivan in like 3 weeks. And we traveled to more cities that I could remember and seen some really cool stuff. But what strikes me is that cities have their own natural DNA already built into them based upon, like when we were in Wyoming, there was like cattle themed stuff. When we were in Texas, it was horses. When it was along the Mississippi or Missouri River, different, stuff. And so we already have our DNA built into the city and the city of gold because that is literally our history. So we can't erase that and undo that. It's iconic and it is, it's just who we are. So I would love to see it be more centric to that. I don't like the tagline I don't like belong along our water. I do like some of the graphics you guys provided, but I would like to focus more on our natural DNA. We don't have to fabricate any DNA. We don't have to manufacture it. It's already there. It's been given to us because of what we have. So I would have preferred we went more with a traditional rather than belong along our water. But I'm just one of 7 voices on here. So there's what I have to say about it. So,
Okay.
Last comment.
Go ahead.
So, I'm slightly surprised I'm not the only one who thinks this way. So just for clarity, I'm fine with belong along a water on a pamphlet that can be reprinted, that next year we go to a new pamphlet, but something that's gonna be, I don't wanna redo our trucks and our cars, every
No.
5 years, just because their tagline changed. So, or our sign, a big concrete thing that's going to be there for probably possibly 100 years. So short-term marketing things, I'm fine with belong along. Long-term stuff, just please, discretion.
And I think one of these good examples is the flag, if you can show that real quick. It just is. there's no tag at all. And that stands up, so I think that works really well, so. Okay,
Hold on, I have one more thing, because
All
I
right, go
have
for
to
it.
have the last word on this.
go for it.
Thank you for laughing and not thinking that I'm that crazy. In that, I think we are saying belong along the water, but there is a distinct period after belong, and that means something. And I think it speaks to a lot of the thought of what you guys are expressing, in that belong, period. That is, we are a community where people belong, where our history belongs, and where we are close and tight-knit. It's not belong along. It's not together. It is. But it is also distinctly separate in that we want people to belong here. And that the residents who have lived here for generations, raise your hand if your family's lived here for generations, right? A lot of us have. It's because they have a sense of belonging here. And I think that we're focusing a lot on along the waters. And then on the flip side, belong is really serious as well. And it is encompassing of that history, of that rich community, and of another unique identifier to Oroville.
Okay.
All right, so I make a motion.
Oh, wait a minute, before you do that. Councilman, or Vice Mayor Smith, don't you need to,
So there's actually 4 items before us.
Okay.
I mean, if we separate them out,
Okay.
because I have to recuse on.
well, and I think she's ready to make a motion, so I don't know.
I think I know what you need to recuse
Yeah, so
yourself
just on, they're not numbered here, but approval of the new Orville brand is presented by North Stan Branding, yeah, that as a standalone?
If-
Because
if
then
that
I'm
could
gonna
be just
recuse
a
on
motion.
And
that.
the contract.
No, contract after he recuses himself. Okay, so if you just make a motion to accept the presentation.
I motion to accept and approve the Oroville brand presentation by North Star Face Branding.
Want a second to that, please? All right, motion seconded. Can I have roll call, please?
Oh, yeah.
Councilmember Johnstone?
Yes.
Councilmember Riggs?
Yes?
Councilmember Thompson?
As long as I don't see it on a truck.
Conditional, yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
I just want to clarify, we're only approving what was presented here tonight, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
We have others coming behind this.
All right, I approve of the presentation.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Weber?
No.
Okay. Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pittman?
Yes. All right. Thank you all. Now we'll have a discussion about the budgetary item.
And that's where I need to recuse,
Yes.
because my company, we're gonna use this material, so I need to
Okay.
recuse.
That's why we're separating this, all right?
So I motion.
Go
Or do I
ahead.
have to wait till he actually leaves the room?
Yeah.
Easy on me. A motion that we approve the first year marketing plan, timeline, and budget of $7,200, although that's not specifics within the budget.
72,000.
$72,000. I motion that we approve an additional not to exceed $28,000 for 1 year of additional creative materials and coaching by North Star, and that we approve the contract amendment with North Star.
A motion, do I hear a second?
So,
I'll second it as long as there's nothing that's going to be past 5 years. No signs, no trucks.
We have a question on the budget. Can the city administrator
It's
answer
a
her?
total budget of 100,000.
Total 100. We have $72,000
So
in the current fiscal year budget, but we're asking for 28,000 more.
Additional.
To make it 100,000 for the first year, which would include the
Keeping-
material,
yeah,
keeping North Star on contract to help us develop some of the material,
And work
business
through some of
cards,
those things we just
flags,
talked through.
social media, yep. Work through, I think, certainly not put stuff on vehicles, maybe the Orville,
Yeah.
that right
So-
there.
So I put a second, and I said as long as it's not on signs,
With direction to staff
with direction staff, no on signs, no on truck, nothing
on
long,
permanent installments.
permanent, long-term.
Assets, long-term assets, okay? Sure. Everyone understand the motion? Councilman Goodson, you have a question?
the third item makes mention of the additional year, and then that brings it up to 100,000, right? Are we, see, I have a fear that this sounds like the convention center. Keeps going and going, it's like the
So
And
this
what's the bottom line here?
So it's $100,000 for the first fiscal year for implementation. That would be continuing to contract with North Star to help us produce more of the internal content. They can produce it much faster than we can in-house. So it's keeping them on board with more ideas, with helping us generate, like, the reason Vice Mayor Smith recruits himself is to then also include EBC, the chamber, everyone to do a little bit more of like visit Oroville, some of those taglines, the billboards.
Okay.
So that would keeping them with us is one of the bigger costs, is why we've asking for additional funds. But we really think keeping them for the first year, possibly coming back next year as well, would really help us get on the ground running.
And so what's the projected cost the second year?
It's a
We
great
haven't put a bu-
question.
yeah, we haven't put a budget together
We haven't
for-
put a budget together for that. If you see on our timeline, we've kind of broken it down into phases. Those are all, like we said, just proposals. And then we will meet again as a creative team and bring our two council members back as a creative team to then envision our budget for the next year as well. So that has not been discussed.
I'll say certainly, some of those items are certainly more costly than others. I mean, if you're having a monument sign versus a flag, obviously that's a significant investment in something that might last longer than 5 years, and something that's, more used right now for marketing, branding. To me, some of the exciting things that I think North Star can help us with is, and I believe I saw it in the earlier version, like a video that we can use outside of Oroville, outside of this region. We're partnering with Explore Butte County to really showcase the beauties of Oroville to other parts throughout Northern California. And those are things that this money can help us with. Besides, if we want to do visuals on our website, for conference calls, some backgrounds that have the Oroville with the new O and the swirl, business cards, we can do some things like that. So, but next year's budget would be reassessed, obviously, as we go forward and see how much we can accomplish this year with the $100,000.
Yeah, everything you see in that presentation is not doable on $100,000. These are all proposals. These are all just ideas. Those are things that we can prioritize later. If the big gateway project coming in, if we want a big monument sign, that's something that we can talk about further. This $100,000, not to use the term like low hanging fruit, but it's kind of starting off with a lot of our internal stuff that we can change over to the new branding, and then kind of branching out into like the tourism aspects. You can see in here, we didn't quite work through it all, but we did talk about hiring a company to do some videography, to do a new photography at all of our festivals, so that we have a bigger, broader like library of images so in-house we can use for generations, things that make us unique that we just don't have right now. So
Okay.
it's very broad of what we could do, and there's way more we could do.
Thank you.
Years
All
to
right,
come.
So let me try and ask this a different way. Mr. North Star, all right, you've been in the business a very long time. Take an average city like ours that wants to reframe, rebrand themselves, and how much has that, what was the cost of that from the first year to, let's say, 3 years? It kind of was implemented, resolved, you gave the final payment invoice. What was that invoice?
It's hard to say.
Oh, no. You
It
have
is,
a
of course,
ballpark.
it is hard to say because every city has different needs. But the $72,000 that was originally proposed is very within reach, and I don't even know that we as North Star would use that full $72,000. So for that first year, it is a lot of that, those easier opportunities. It's the quick changes, it's the social things, it's the digital things, it's business cards, letterhead, all of that type of thing. That is, as Jordan mentioned, is those internal changes. You do that for the first 6 months, and then you really start to prioritize looking outward. What other organizations do we need to bring in, as far as like the chamber or Visit Oroville or anything else? how do we partner with them? And then even as you look at monument signage and gateway signage, those are fixed structures that cost a lot. And so it is just trying to be as judicious as possible, knowing that you'll still probably see the old brand and the new brand for the next few years. I wish we had a blank check so that we could say, let's just clean slate everything overnight, here we go. But it is taxpayer money that we want to be conscious of. And so we recommend a phased approach. As the old business cards are used up, that's when you would repurpose and print some new ones. Use up all the existing stationery, all the existing letterhead, and then print it. So I can't give the exact cost as far as how much you will be spending, not just on North Star, but on all the implementation and all the fixed costs over the next few years. But it kind of is whatever you want it to be. So we've seen some cities do 50 to 100,000 in the first 2 years, and then we've also seen other cities do several $100,000 because right off the bat they did some of those monument and entryway signage.
Okay, thank you. I needed some more detail on that.
Yeah, and sorry I can't give super explicit detail.
Well, what I
about it
didn't
would
hear
be.
you say was $1 million, so.
North Star did provide us, when putting this final plan together with our budget and our timeline, they did provide us a few suggestions of budgets and timelines that they not necessarily used for other entities, but suggestions of what we could do. And that's what we worked off of to build these. The 100,000 that we came to was conservative, to be honest. So in other cities or other organizations they've worked with, this is conservative. So we feel very comfortable with where we're at in the first year. I don't see, unless, like we said, we wanted to do some big monument sign or something that's going to cost way more than this, I don't see over the years this getting even more expensive.
Okay. All right, we have a motion, we have a second, we've had some discussion on clarification. Any other clarifications? Then I'll ask for the roll to be called, please.
Councilmember Johnstone?
Yes.
Councilmember Riggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson? Councilmember Weber?
No.
We have a recusal from Vice Mayor Smith and Mayor Pittman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Someone bring Mr. Smith back in? Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is item number 9, the letter to Federal Energy Regulatory Commission regarding relicensing of Oroville Dam, project number 2100. Mr. Ring.
Yes. Thank you. This item came before your council, I believe, back in February, where staff were directed to work collectively with myself and our city attorney and a number of you folks up on DICE to come up with a draft letter to the FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, with regards to the issuance of the license for the Oroville Dam project. It was, I could say, a lot of thought went into the drafting of the letter just to make sure that obviously the message from the city was emphasized about the fact that the city has been waiting now for 16, 17 years for this issuance. But at the same time, while some things have changed over those years, we were not to object to the settlement agreement that was reached between the city and DWR and other parties. So kind of try to walk the fine line, but stress the point that we'd like to see the license reissued. And for many reasons, I think that during the prior discussions we've had this evening about what the benefits that could bring to recreation to this city could be significant once this thing does take place. So the draft is brought before you this evening for some consideration input. And again, we did receive a lot of inputs already, but certainly welcome additional input.
Any council member questions? Do we have any blue cards from the audience?
We do have one for this item. Shannon DeLong.
Shannon.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My comment is I was extremely excited to see this letter. It's funny we're talking about belonging along our water, where the fact of the matter is the water isn't ours. The power generated from the water isn't ours. The recreational opportunities that we have, that we could do in our city and the surrounding areas aren't ours. And they're controlled by Department of Water Resources, the state, and the supposed FERC licensing agreement. So I do really support it. I think we need to renegotiate, and I think we really need to reconsider how this whole thing works. I think Department of Water Resources being the one that dictates to us how things are supposed to go with the recreation in our area is a bad idea. We should request some sort of mediation and somebody else to attend the meetings, because right now, the way it is, I don't see anything changing, even if they do get their license. I could be totally wrong, but they didn't do anything the first 50 years. They haven't done anything for 17 years. So to think that magically they're going to get their license and something's going to change and we're going to get all this fantastic recreation is a bit of a stretch for me. But I do support the letter, and I do think we need to start talking again, and I'm happy to see that it's happening. So thank you.
Thank you.
If I can say one thing, you can come back if you could, please.
Yep.
I completely agree with your sentiments. The only difference between before and now is there are specific things that are required in the contract that they have to do. Before, it was word of mouth, things that they said they're going to do. Right. Now there are specific things that are in the contract that they're liable that they have to do. They're in pen. So we'll, obviously we'll see.
Yeah.
But at least before, it wasn't
Right.
their word of saying they're going to do stuff.
Right.
At least this time, it's actually in writing.
Right. A lot of stuff they have to do too doesn't really, and everybody talks about it, doesn't relate to today either. I mean, a mountain bike demonstration area there's other cities are building mountain bike parks, and talking about access along the river and access to the lake. I mean, really, you walk along the river, do you guys see a lot of access points along the river that you're comfortable walking down to? I know I don't. I mean, and hopefully it changes. This is a good start, and I really appreciate that, and thank you all for that.
All right. Any other cards? No? Councilman, or Vice Mayor Smith, please.
No, I appreciate the letter. I think it was very thoughtful and well done. I think it really expresses some of our concerns. How we had a settlement agreement that did not enjoin a COLA, at least, given the amount of time. Axiomatic, I think that was the word I seen in the letter, when no one on both sides of the equation would think it would take this long. But nevertheless, here we are, and so a lot has changed economically, obviously, and then also people's interest, going back to Shannon's comments about recreation and what people value and what people thought was, what was important 20 years ago and what people are now doing, and the way recreation has changed. I think back then, those stand-up paddle boards, that was not even invented yet. So a lot has changed, and I fully support the idea of going back and renegotiating some of the recreational opportunities that exist within that agreement. That some of those concepts need to be certainly revisited. But this is absolutely a good start from a fiscal standpoint, because that's a lot of what I think is being focused on here, is the timelines and the fiscal impacts, which is an excellent starting point. But certainly there's a lot of work to be done between now and the eventuality of that project being relicensed. Thank you.
So I also endorse this letter to FERC. There were a couple of us, along with City Administrator Ring and Scott Hubert, that worked on this. And I think what was really crucial in this, and is that we are asking for FERC's support of an adjustment of the settlement terms. I think we're dealing with intelligent people that understand this is, it's conditional, and we are waiting for a timely response on this. And so this is different. This is different. And we're hoping that the response will be favorable. So,
Good. Any other councilman? I'll add too, I appreciate the city attorney's involvement because the settlement agreement, which we are a signature along with some 50 other folks, agencies, has some strict requirements in it. And I appreciate the city attorney keeping us in compliance with those requirements because we don't want to violate that. But and I'll make a quick mention too, in the recreation management plan, when and if the license is issued, there are dates and times required in the RMP. So, and it'll be our job to make sure those dates and times are fulfilled. And in the license issuance, if they're not, there is a mitigation process to deal with. So, not to say we're not going to see anything, but certainly there's a process once the license is issued to see it move forward. So, again, I want to thank the city attorney for keeping us in compliance, I guess is the word to use. So, no other questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, we were going to make just two quick edits to it. We were going to add the,
Oh, yes.
we were going to add the, the governor on the CC list and also change the signature so it comes from all 7 council members.
Yes.
If that's,
I believe everyone's in agreement with that, but we'll have a signature
I was going to
page
say,
with all the council.
assuming all 7 council members vote in the affirmative.
correct.
that's true. And I
All
want
right.
to thank Mayor Pittman for making that recommendation that there's more, there's more
Gravitas. Yeah.
teeth in this when it is signed by the office of the mayor and all city council members. So thank you.
Okay, good idea. I hear a motion to move this forward.
So move.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Can we call the roll, please?
Councilmember Johnstone? Councilmember Riggs?
Yes?
Councilmember Thompson?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Weber?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pittman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you all. Item number 10, community member appointments to various committees and commissions. The council may appoint individuals to the Arts Commission, Parks Commission, Planning Commission, and Citizens Oversight Committee. The recommendations are as follows. I'll let the administrator read those to us. Before we get there, I want to thank all the folks that applied for this. This is a voluntary activity for all our commissions, and it's critical to our role in serving the public, and we appreciate every application received, and we look forward to more applications in the future. So I'll let the city administrator go forward.
Correct. And just to recap, this, I know this item was brought before the council again a couple of meetings ago, and we decided to put the word out and make sure we had it as a expansive knowledge out within the community for folks that were interested in participating on these committees. And to your point, Mr. Mayor, that it's hard to find volunteers to partake on some of these committees, so they can be thankless jobs. But with that, we allowed, I think, a couple more weeks for community members to put in their applications. Then we met with the executive committee, and the executive committee reviewed all the applications and came forward with the following recommendations. So for the Arts Commission, it is recommended that David Tamori, and I apologize if I mispronounce anyone's name here, and Andy Krantz for the Arts Commission. And for the Parks, we had Chris Hicks. And for the Planning Commission, Audrey Holt. And for the Citizens Oversight Committee, Mark Grover and J.D. Holt.
Okay. Any questions from council?
No, I do have a comment. I don't know, you're going to ask for comments from the public first?
Do we have any blue cards?
We have none submitted.
We have none. Thank you. Appreciate the reminder. Go ahead.
So, yeah, we discussed this at some length in our executive committee, and then these recommendations rolled out. And I guess in respectful good faith, I didn't go along with one of the recommendations, and I'm going to explain why. Again, I think the comments that Administrator Ring pointed out, the challenge that we have of getting folks to volunteer is difficult. And we had 2 applicants with very similar qualifications. That's Audrey Holt, and then one of the names that's not mentioned is Terry Smith here, but I believe that all of the council has those applications in front of them up here. And so we still have an open slot on the Parks Commission, and Audrey Holt volunteered to serve either on the Planning Commission or the Parks. And Mr. Smith, he had applied for the planning. In review of his background, in particular with contracting, I believe he ran a moderate size contracting firm in, I believe, in the Sacramento area for some years. Given the complexity of our current planning commission, several realtors, consulting, there really isn't a good representation of people from that particular expertise, which is contractors. There's been, over the last couple of years, quite a bit of frustration from various developers and builders in our area in interacting with the city when it comes to their projects. Just a lot of, and I think over time we're all aware of that there's just, and we're working towards that. I'm real excited about our new community development director and some of the other things that are coming. I think we're going to address that. However, I feel it's important to have at least an individual that represents and understands that particular field, especially planning. I mean, a large amount of that workload deals with, approving housing projects and developments and business. And I just think that it would be important to have that representation. I think it would be a healing and soothing and consoling to the builders and the developers, the contractors that come to Oroville, knowing that they have some level of advocacy on the Planning Commission. And my other earlier point was, if we go the way that I'm thinking, we get one more person. In other words, right now, Terry Smith is not being considered, and we still have an open slot on the park. So my thought would be to ask Ms. Holt to go on the Parks Commission, and that we would consider Terry Smith for the planning. That we pick up one, and I understand they're both equally qualified, that is Terry Smith and Audrey Holt, but with, I think, with the need of representation amongst builders and developers, contractors on the Planning Commission. I think it's just a win-win. I think it's just a better fit. I made that pitch. I think I caught a couple of you on the fence, maybe, but nevertheless, this was the way it went down, 2-1. But so I respectfully challenging that decision out of our executive committee and asking the whole council to consider my words and to consider Mr. Smith for the Planning Commission, and then Ms. Holt for the Parks Commission, for the reasons that I've stated.
I have a question. On the Planning Commission currently, is there no one sitting on that commission that has that type of background as Terry?
So, not that I can see. There is one, I forget the name, one that's a surveyor working for the county as a surveyor. But I don't, a couple of like I said, real estate, one person working for the county and surveying, Miss Sheard, I know she has recently gotten involved with a bed and breakfast, but I don't think she's a builder. Solar, for a solar company. But nobody that's, a contractor, swinging a hammer, having a tool belt, getting up at, 5 o'clock in the morning, starting out on the day, with that optic, which is, unique. That individual would bring that perspective, and frequently, a lot of the complaints that have come to City Hall when it comes to development And I've sat in several meetings with different individuals, just frustrated, feeling that the city doesn't understand the complexity and the challenges of, in real time in our state, just the challenges of meeting out and complying with all of the various codes and regulations when it comes to building. And I think that a person that's been in that industry is uniquely qualified to understand those challenges. And I think that that person would be since we don't really have that representation on planning, I just think it's a good fit. And I think it sends a broader message to the community as well. And so I think for all those reasons. And then again, we're picking up an extra person. Right now, we're struggling getting people to serve on these committees. And if you go my route, we're picking up one more. And then we also have a full slate for the parks. We don't need anybody else on parks. It becomes a full slate. The commission is completely built out. And I just think it's a good route to go, considering they're both equally. I mean, she also has other elements in her resume that make her qualified to sit on that commission. However, we need folks to sit on these committees, and I think it serves us well for all the reasons I've stated.
Well spoken from a former contractor.
Full disclosure, yes, I was a licensed general contractor for many, many years. And I have fought the city, and I feel their pain. But so I do have that perspective. But nevertheless, it is real, and these are real issues that confront the everyday, from the mom and pop builder to the larger developer. And I do feel that there is oftentimes a sense that there's a deaf ear at the city hall. Real or imaginary, that's the perspective. And I think that would just help go towards soothing that.
Councilman Thompson.
Thank you. Yeah, as a former licensed contractor, I completely agree with the sentiments of Councilman Smith, and I would respectfully hope that we could do just what he requested, put Audrey in Parks and Terry Smith with planning.
Any other? Councilman Riggs?
I would love, although I know this, I think it would, bless you, I think it would be helpful for us to have a common definition of what the Planning Commission oversees, because planning is different than building. So is there somebody that can do that? I know this is a wrench because we just had a change in all of those things, and et cetera.
We'll see. I know Wes,
not in
our
the building.
principal planner was here a few minutes ago. I'll see if he's still.
He's left.
Did he
We'll
leave?
let
If not, we'll, Patrick is,
Yes, Patrick.
Planning Commission oversees zoning, basically. So they're looking at how, or can a business go in the location where they want to be? Or where do the setback, where can a house be built on that property, that kind of thing. It's typically, the Planning Commission is looking at objective standards. So they don't have really discretionary abilities, so they're looking at, does the project coming in front of us meet the zone, meet the codes? So they have maybe some discretion with, we'd like to see bigger pillars or, different colors, that kind of thing. You're coming to us with the project, would you consider this type of thing? But mostly what the Planning Commission is doing is looking at objective standards that are set in the municipal code, zoning code.
Can I do a follow-up question?
Of course.
Do contractors or builders ever appeal to the Planning Commission?
Yes.
So it'd be good to have it'd be good to have a contractor understand where they're coming from, and even if he's holding to standards, somebody that could speak to their pain and walk them through that. And I know that's part of your job as well. But
Right, and to that point, to have someone who's on the commission that feels like they have someone that understands their language, it wouldn't be the worst thing.
Quick comment about our city. We do have an appeals board for decisions. And I'm just wondering who we have on that appeals board, because I see Mr. Smith as an excellent candidate for that appeals board as a contractor. When a contractor walks in, I'm not sure how many we have on the current appeals board for those things, but,
That I cannot speak to.
That appeal from the planning commission? would
no,
be the-
they appeal building issues that, it's a commission that we've had for a long time, and I don't know that it's even staffed currently.
I thought appeals generally come to council.
From the, yep.
Right, but appeals to the building inspection department, there's an appeals board that we probably ought to invigorate. I think some of your staff might know, especially your older staff, have historical institutional memory about it, because when a contractor came and had an appeal over an interpretation of the code, they were able to go to that board and deal with the issue there and it's exactly what the Vice Mayor brings up, the contractor participation and perspective on the issue that's going on. So I'm just thinking that it's a good time to mitigate that. We used to have at least 3 members of it. I don't know where it is, but I would be curious to find out where that is, and
I can look into that.
yeah, and you may have to go back to a couple building inspectors to find it, because I believe the building inspectors or the building official was the organizer for that appeals board.
Okay,
So,
I'll take a look.
yeah, thank you.
Cool.
And Councilman Smith brought up that the executive committee, we had a difference of opinion on this one particular individual, and I hear what he's saying about the contractors, but I'd also say that the one that the 2 of us chose, she's got extensive historical preservation research and community heritage development, revitalization program experience in historical preservation, which kind of fits to the planning commission. And I respect his opinion on it, but I think that this one candidate was a little better suited to the planning commission from their experience background. That's why we made the vote that we did, so.
Mr. Mayor, I think and again, I'm caught a little bit flat-footed, but I'm
Sure.
going from memory here. I just pulled up really quickly, 17.56.100, subsection A, if an applicant or any other person is dissatisfied with an action of a zoning administrator, city engineer, director of parks and trees, fire chief, or the development review committee, and the action pertains to building, essentially, the appeals body is now the planning commission, actually.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
if I remember correctly, I read something about this when I first became city attorney in 2010. And a couple of years before that, I think they had eliminated the body you're referring to, the appeals. I think it changed from that to
Back
back to the planning.
Planning commission,
So the
okay.
planning commission is the appellate body for if someone doesn't agree with the decision of the city engineer or the zoning
finding.
administrator. Yeah.
Finding anywhere in the city, okay.
Yeah.
If I might comment on that, and also, we touched that a couple of years ago, because if there is an appeal, and they appeal to the council, and we agree with the appeal, then the fee, I believe, is then returned back. If that goes through planning.
That's a separate.
It's a
if
separate
someone-
item,
If someone
but-
appeals from a planning commission, they pay the fee to appeal it to, or
Is it the
if
city
someone disagrees
council?
with the planning commission, they can appeal to the city council.
Right.
There's a fee for that.
Right.
If that's approved, then the fee gets returned.
Yes.
Yeah, now that you're saying, I do remember we had 3 contractors in town on that body before, and I don't know if we could continue that, but it makes sense now to what I'm hearing. Okay. Thank you for looking that up.
And Mr. Mayor, we do have a blue card now submitted in this item.
Okay. Thank you. Come to the podium, sir. We're ready, yeah.
I don't know what I can really help out here. My name's John Zilich. I have extensive background in construction. I'm the senior project manager and also the senior estimator for Lehman Construction out of Yuba City. The planning commission, in my opinion, is very important to have somebody with contractor knowledge on that. I apologize, I lost my voice the other day. It's difficult to get it back.
All right.
It's difficult with the planning commission because they're in charge of deciding where the zones go and such. So where the subdivisions go, where the schools go and such. There's also a certain amount of responsibility to the viability of being able to do that. If you have come from the contractor side, you understand the infrastructure required to be able to put any of those items, any of those places, water, sewer, power, communication. So the basic understanding of that helps with the zoning. It helps with the idea of what's actually viable to put that there. I mean, you could put a subdivision there. It's not a problem. But what if it's $1 million cheaper to put it over here? What if it's $2 million cheaper to put it over here? Well, what if you get a city map and you look at the infrastructure and realize,
Sewer.
hey, there's a 24-inch sewer line running over here. There's only an 8 over here. That developer is going to have to put in a massive amount of infrastructure, whereas over here, it's already in. So if you have somebody with that background and knowledge that understands the plans, that understands the zoning, that understands already what's in the ground, it would be a huge help, in my opinion, to have somebody with a contractor's knowledge, especially somebody who's done it for enough years and has a background in it, to be able to look at it and be like, you know what, this is viable, this isn't. Because overall with the planning commission, it's not about beautification so much, it's about the infrastructure that we're planning for the future of the city. So to me, I would think you'd want somebody with construction experience and knowledge to be able to give you a good forethought on what you can actually place there. That's all.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate your time. Okay, council, any other questions?
I'd like to make
Thank
a
you.
motion.
Janet Goodson would like to make a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, you, go ahead, I'm sorry. I heard your voice.
I'm just going to second
I
it.
don't have a queue here, so I'm working.
So I move that we appoint Terry Smith to the Planning Commission, Audrey Holt to the Parks Commission, and then all of the others as agendized.
I second that.
Sure.
Can council members, I want to make sure, I would second that, but can council members, from my understanding, as far as appointees, the commissions and whatnot, aren't those typically have to be done by the mayor and then second by, or approved by the council? Or is this an item where the council can actually make a motion to appoint people to committees?
Yeah, I believe these are,
Because I don't want it to be negative.
these are outlined in the charter that it's done by the council as a whole.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Excellent question, actually.
That's true.
Excellent question.
The motion and seconded, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Johnstone? Yes. Councilmember Riggs?
Yes?
Councilmember Thompson?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson? Yes. Councilmember Weber?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes?
Mayor Pittman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, folks, we're now at a second point of public communication, and we've added this so that if someone didn't get here early enough, would like to make get their 3 minutes for non-agenda item, you may do so at this point in time. Anyone, any cards at all? None for that, so without seeing anyone hands raised, we'll move on to the next item. Future agenda items.
Yeah.
Members? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so I've already spoken with our administrator, Brian Ring. It's somewhat of a delicate topic, and it kind of goes back to some of the things that were being presented by some of our business owners regarding their frustration with the unhoused, homeless. And as we all know, Esperanza Project is well on its way. And one of the items that I had asked our consultant was, could we then basically ban camping if we can show as a city that we have adequate places for the homeless to stay. Esperanza Project, for an example. So when law enforcement or code enforcement encounter someone that's camping, and now we have that ordinance in place, it kind of insulates us from being sued, with all the other issues, and we all are well acquainted with the Chico struggle, and other cities as well. So we're not there yet, but we're well on our way to getting there. I've also been watching this issue kind of unfold in slow-mo in other cities, large metropolitan areas. Mm-hmm. And what they've come up with is kind of a hybrid concept where they don't allow camping in certain critical areas, waterways, school proximity. So what I would like to agendicize is just that. I think I already have an agreement from Councilman Weber on this to get on the agenda, to start the process of research on that item, so that we can then begin to have a tiered approach to the issue. So I would like to get that on the agenda. And then also one other item, and it just kind of came to me personally this past week, where I had an individual going through a residential trash in my neighborhood. And I told him, you can't do that. And he told me, yes, I can. And I told him, I don't appreciate that. We have a lot of problems with identity theft. I'm not one of those. I'm sure you're not, but nevertheless. And so he complied, and he left my neighborhood. And then in looking into that, apparently the homeless person was correct. And so what I would like to agendicize is that we develop a city ordinance to where that activity. And now I know, again, we have limited resources, law enforcement, all that. But that being said, at least we can, then if that person challenged me, I could then call the police, and the police could actually, at that point, do something about it. So I'd like, again, for us to venture down that path as well. And there may be other things that we can do as a city, but these are at least two things, I think, that are noteworthy, that begin to create some layers of protection for our businesses and our citizens. And anyway, I don't want to go too much further in that, because we'll have plenty of opportunity to have that discussion. But those are two things I'd like to agendicize.
Councilman Riggs.
Well, I'd like to support you in the trash bins. And if you would allow, also include a possible ordinance that if a dumpster is not within a locked enclosure, that it too needs to be locked. Because we have a lot of issues of people dumping or adding to that bin and it becoming overflowed or overfilled and becoming blight within many areas throughout town.
I understand that. I think it's a real complex issue.
Right.
Probably, I don't know if we should go down a committee side. Why don't we let staff deal with it, and then we'll get back to it?
Yep.
Are you ready to hear?
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to actually, I mentioned this several months ago about the same thing, so I'm glad it's back. And I just wanted to say I fully support it too. What's wrong with me tonight? I think because this is broken, that, you know what I'm saying, so I'm not doing it. So anyway, I fully support the trash ordinance. Like I said, I mentioned it, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 months ago now. And so I'm glad it's back on. I was just watching a guy dig through our neighbor's trash the other day and just ripping it to shreds. And anyway, so it's, I think it'd be good. I also, yeah, I do support you in everything you just said. I would like to put something on the possible future agenda to purchase a hot water pressure washer for Public Works to possibly implement to do a sidewalk pressure washing and cleaning program for our downtown and other areas that might need cleaning. This is actually birthed from an idea when we lived in Nevada. Carson City actually did this, and their sidewalks in their downtown was amazingly clean. And so I would like to look into that. I know that a hot water pressure washer that could be mounted on a small trailer wouldn't be very much for us to buy, and they're super easy to use. And then they have what they call a surface cleaner, which looks very similar to a lawnmower, and it's got a 20-inch deck with an armature underneath it that spins, so you could be incredibly fast and efficient. You walk behind it, and it will just literally blaze a path right off the concrete or whatever's in its way. And also, it will not leave the etching, because if you were to hire a company, or if Public Works would do it, we'd have to use the right tips on the pressure washer at the right setting. Otherwise, we would etch or burn our concrete, and you cannot get the etching or the burns out. However, with a surface cleaner, you could walk behind it, you could set your pressure to a certain specific pressure, and it will leave a nice, even the surface when you're done. There will be no etching, so that would have to be part of it. But I would love to get that agendized to help keep our downtown and other areas clean as well. Not just downtown, but wherever in the city that we could utilize a service like that.
I second that. And that's like my total love language of clean sidewalks and stuff. Oh, it's just so exciting. Thank you for coming up with that.
Oh, yeah, well, it wasn't my idea. Like I said, I seen it in Carson City in action, so I'm like, oh, well, we should do that.
I think we can get staff to get some recommendations put together on that, and I know
And-
some of
and
us
then I have
already
one
do
more.
that activity, so.
I have one more, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Also, on a recent trip to, I can't remember if it was Jackson, California. My wife's brother moved to Texas, his company moved him down there, and we went down there to spend the afternoon with them, and we walked around in downtown Jackson, and Jackson has similar buildings than we do. And one of the really cool things that I seen on all the buildings was like historical placards naming like when they were built and like you know what year and who built them and what they were originally used for. And it was actually like a super cool little like free educational tour to just walk down the street and see these things. I would love to see that on our downtown buildings, to take some sort of time to invest in that. And another thing, I don't know if we could have any power of this, but all the businesses had these overhanging, like they hung over the sidewalk, and also they had like hanging signage that was all custom one-off stuff for the buildings. Now, I don't know if we could get into doing that because we don't own the buildings, but I would love to see some placards on those buildings to kind of give us a little historical context of what we got going on. Again, I don't even know if the city could do that. I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay,
I have one request.
go ahead.
And that is that I know that we've talked many times about updating the city charter, and I'm not on that committee, but I would love to hear an update, even if like, yeah, that is actually being discussed and we haven't forgotten and missed our boat again.
We have an upcoming meeting.
We have a meeting on, our first meeting is on it is Thursday this week.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
I've been asking for a long time for a review of the oak tree ordinance. It was supposed to be on, it's probably been years now that I've been asking for it, and if some way possible, we could get that on the agenda also.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I second that.
I third that.
Yeah. Right, I'll fourth it. Okay. All right. Any other items? I think he's got the list there. Correspondence? We have one from the city treasurer that the attorney's already explained, so we don't need any more of that. We have any other correspondence? Is there?
Yeah, we have our monthly police reports in there as well as correspondence.
Thank you.
Any monthly police report? Any questions on that? Looks good. Then, folks, we're moving to adjourn the meeting. And I'll make that motion here. The meeting will be adjourned to the regular meeting of the Oroville City Council will be held on September 5th at 2023 at 4 p.m. Thank you all for being here tonight. All right? We are adjourned.
Recording stopped.
Recording stopped. Good to see you. What do you think of the brandy? The brandy, what do you think?
I thought it was well.
So what did you guys do with the contracts with?
Oh, yeah.
North? They did, okay, I didn't know.
I voted for it because I don't like I didn't like the extended stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Oh, boy.
But I
Yeah.
knew I was there.
I think it actually exceeded my expectations with when I looked,
the City of Gold,
because we really need
I just like
we need a brand, we need a logo to go out there, yeah.
I should have said that too.
Interesting.
I agree. I just didn't like that one.
Yeah, and I'll use the heck out of it.
Okay.
You know, for a couple of years, and I'll move on to
Oh, we got the
something.
new car.
Oh,
yeah, I got a new car,
I
yeah.
heard about it. No, and the reason why, because I just.
You do that, all right? Thank you.
Run out of
Just give me a holler. You bet.
What? That's, I don't like that either.
Thank you. All right.
I don't like that.
Yeah, so I was like.
Yeah, we should own the content. Will?
Okay. Oh, you mean a dinner ticket thing? Susan doesn't like that idea. I can tell you, we had that once before, yeah. I had no problem in making a donation to that, the fair, but she doesn't like the dinner thing. So, yeah, we had this once before and she didn't like that idea, no, so.
I do. Look at. If there's anybody on this board that knows how to help us out, I'm just coming and talking.
DA, Ramsey, yeah, they could do it, but yeah. Okay, well, you go ahead and ask them. Thank you, I appreciate the invitation, but Susan just, we had this once before and she said, no, I don't want to do that, so. She doesn't like the idea of being auctioned off. Yeah. Yeah, oh, I'm sure some do, but she just doesn't like it.
People loves to do it.
Yeah. Oh, I understand, yeah. I know. I appreciate that, though. Thanks for the offer. All right? Thank you. You bet. Oh, no bother at all.
Sometimes we say stuff that's like.
Okay, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, see you later.
Have a good evening.
You
I
bet.
guess we got a meeting tomorrow at 1?
Yeah, I can't make that one, but I said go ahead and have it. I'm
Okay, you
good
want me to
with
go?
it. Yeah, please go. I got to meet with Beat College and get an internship program, and I've been
Oh,
trying
wonderful.
to get it for 2 months, and I got the meeting set for 1:30 tomorrow, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's with the whole teaching staff, so I've got more than just the director, I've got the whole teaching staff. All right,
good to see you. Yep, yes, sir.
You'll do fine there.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'll do my best.
All right.
Bother this guy? That's right. This is Deborah. I'm advisors and vice counsel.
So anyway, I'm retired from doing that kind of stuff, but I think that.
Yeah. Are we ready?
I'm just thinking I'm gonna remember what you said about it in this page.
Thing. Interesting meeting, huh?
It was.
Oh, you're gonna add a signature page to this too.
What about it?
We're gonna add a signature page of all the council
Oh.
members to that one.
Perfect. Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Okay. Good. I got a meeting tomorrow morning at 8:30 to go to the Central School to do the opening. Bullshit and shine. Well, my advantage is I'm born and raised here, so I went to school there, so I can tell them all the different fellow classmates of mine that have gone on, and from Admiral Tony to Jesse Hypes, that was the trainer for the SEAL Team 6. In fact, you know, remember the soldier Jessica Hahn that was rescued by, the first time it's been happened since World War II? He was team leader.
Wow. See, that's the stuff that they're gonna eat up.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
great.
Stuff.
Well, good. Good to be there to tell it.
Yeah, and then I'll get to say how I went to Africa and saved 70,000 people from Ebola.
There you go. That's more than I've done. Gotta leave you.
Well, it was a little different there. We were there on a Rotary project. Susan, my Susan, partner Susan and I and other team members, and we were there for an entire month. And we were there for clean water, health, and sanitation, and then Ebola broke out, so we had to switch gears. So
Well, so it's not what you planned for.
It wasn't what I
but you
planned,
just-
no.
It was an opportunity.
yeah.
You telling her, do not have this techno problems again?
You know,
I think,
not me.
I think, well, it sounds like it was just the power supply went down.
I don't know.
that's what,
It kind of follows her around.
Yeah,
so.
boy.
you know what?
But everything
It was
else she
there-
does great. The technology, though, I don't know.
It was there before I even came in. It was.
Are we still?